Welcome back to Always Almost There, a Goose podcast series by Storm Sound and Osiris Media. I'm Ryan.
And I'm Brian, aka Jive Goose.
And I'm Neal.
And the three of us are here to talk about the cap. It's been a little while since we recorded. How are you guys doing?
Been wonderful.
Doing great. I've just got done recovering from being at the cap, and I'm ready to talk about it.
Awesome. Me too. It was a fun week. Brian, I'm very excited to hear your opinions on these shows. You weren't able to make it to any of the day after show recaps, so excited to dive in here. We are also very sad that Dee and Kev could not join us for this episode, but we are looking forward to having them back soon.
We miss them.
We do. We really do. So, without further ado, shall we dive in?
Yes, we shall.
Yeah, let's do it.
I mean, let's get down to it. I mean, hey, listen, this could easily be a 7-hour podcast, so we should probably not waste any time at all.
2 less people, only 5 shows to talk about. We can do it. Shoot for the moon.
Yeah, we can do it. If anybody can, we can.
Yeah, it's true. We could.
So, hold on one second. So, I need to hear a little bit. I need a vibe report.
Yes.
And we don't have Haps here. But I think before we jump into the show, this is 5 nights at the cap. We need a little bit of a vibe check, I think,
true.
Before we jump in. And you guys got to tell me.
I was not there, so Ryan's our guide.
So, we're talking about Wednesday night, March 8th right now. I was really excited about this show. It was my first time seeing Goose since December, which, they only played like 4 shows in between the last time I saw them and the cap. But it was a long time, a couple of months, which feels like a long time. But it was really good to, be back. It was my first time at the cap, which was very exciting. It's a really, really awesome venue. The stories live up to it. The sound was great. The energy was great. I took for the first night, I was soundboard rail, like at the Peter corner of the soundboard rail. Ended up moving a little bit further back as the run progressed because it was getting very tight on most of the floor. But the vibes were great. Honestly, I feel like the energy in the room escalated as the run went on. There wasn't like people didn't come in super fresh and crazy on Wednesday night, and then it was kind of tapering off by Sunday. It felt like by Saturday and Sunday, the energy was at a high, which was really cool. But going into this, the crowd was excited for the band to get on, and they jump into this jam pretty much. And nobody has any idea what's going on. I'm trying to figure out if this is a new song. People are like, kind of sounds like they're playing Into the Mist, but it's Peter's not on guitar, and it's a weird thing, but it's a really cool jam.
Yeah, man, I was at home trying to do the live set list thread, and I was losing my mind because I had no idea what was going on. So I was terrified, and I was jumping over to Mastodon, trying to look at like what Jive was going to post because I didn't have the guts to go first. And
you ended up posting question marks, right?
Well, no, I thought it was a song. It sounded just composed enough that I actually believed this was a new song. And it was just kind of a jam. Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, I didn't know what to do. Jive, what were you thinking in that moment?
Yeah, I was thinking kind of the same thing. And I think I posted, like new song question marks. I waited a couple minutes because, they have come out with an opening jam. It's rare, but they've done it. So I waited a couple minutes, but yeah, I agree. It kind of sounded like it was something. So I threw up new song with some question marks. Now, the nice thing about Mastodon is that you can edit your posts. So
your toots,
so I kind of felt like the pressure was off a little bit. But yeah, first set list on Mastodon, I was like, oh, okay, cool. We're heading right out with something that's completely confusing and nobody knows what the fuck's going on. The jam itself, I thought was super cool. And I've gone back and listened to it, a couple times, and yeah, it's actually a really cool 5 minutes or so. Mm-hmm. And then they, obviously, return back to the ending of Electric Avenue. which wasn't really on my radar. I mean, I'm not thinking about like finishing versions of, Electric Avenue. So I wasn't thinking about that at all.
You're not really thinking about Electric Avenue very much, are you?
Yeah. And I mean, and we knew they weren't playing Electric Avenue again when they
I
went into
actually,
it.
for a
So
second, I thought they might have been playing it again, and my first thought was, Brian must be rolling around right now.
I couldn't believe it. I was like, there's no way like this is gonna be
Yeah.
Electric Avenue, and then there it was.
I
Go
don't
ahead.
hate Electric Avenue.
You think there are covers that should be played more,
So
and Electric Avenue gets played a
yeah,
lot.
Electric Avenue was I mean, it's one of the heaviest played covers last year. We'd have to look up the info, but yeah, I mean, it's no Disco Inferno.
I mean, this isn't unheard of. This has been done before, but like I think, like Jive was saying, not on his radar, not on anybody's
Right.
radar. That
I didn't even realize it was unfinished.
yeah, like they needed to go back and like, man, like we really gotta get that.
We
You gotta
gotta
get that Electric Avenue.
first
We
night
gotta
at the
do it.
Cap. We need to finish that Electric Avenue from last week in Florida.
Yeah, maybe some people complained, that they didn't finish it. Maybe
Yeah.
management got a letter.
Some people, it's like it's 2:00 in the morning in Florida, and you ran up against curfew, and you couldn't finish Electric Avenue.
It's bullshit.
Got to do it at the Capitol Theater next week.
Yeah.
You know what? I'm happy they did this jam thing rather than
Yeah.
just like go on stage and sing a verse of Electric Avenue.
Yeah, like levity aside, like that was actually really fucking cool what
Yeah,
they
it was
did, and
great.
I'm glad that they did it.
I know you said, Neal, like going back and listening to it the next day, you were like, oh, like this is really cool because you were freaking out about the setlist thread.
Yeah, it was just
Couldn't
sweating
appreciate
bullets.
it at the time.
Sweating bullets.
But they moved from that immediately. Like, I mean, they got down to business right after this. 20-minute All I Need in the first set. This is like some kind of jamming efficiency that I don't think we've ever seen from Goose before. They kind of hit all ends of the spectrum in this All I Need. By the 6-minute mark, we've already been in like this dark kind of jam for like 2 minutes. Reminded me kind of the Nash Cakes, this segment here. But man, they got right into it on this All I Need.
Yeah, when they deconstructed it right off the bat, and Trevor was doing some really cool stuff, and when they're in that space, he just stands out, even so much more than the normal. So it reminded me very much of Portland Echo.
Yeah.
And what's really interesting, and I don't want to get too into it right now, but this show, one of the really cool things about this show is that they came out with this All I Need, and it was reminiscent of some of that winter tour of 2022 type jamming, which is super cool. And I think the three of us all love that. And then later in the show, we got a taste of some of the fall, kind of some of the uniqueness of some of the great fall jams. And then, in the Earthling or Alien, we got maybe even some of like the summery kind of darkness. So I thought it was really interesting how a lot of the improv from this night, which, I mean, I guess I'll go ahead and say it right at the start of the pod. Night one had the best improv of the run, and I don't think it's close.
Mm-hmm.
Not even close.
But I thought it was really interesting how the styles of the improv throughout the night kind of spanned a lot of what they did last year. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe that's completely unintentional and it's coincidental or what. But I just think that that's really kind of cool, and I don't know that I've seen anything quite like that. Certainly in the recent past. So, but yeah, the All I Need is, it does go to a few different really cool places. I mean, just a phenomenal jam, and coming right out of the gates with, the nice little intro jam, but then this kind of a monster. I'd call this a monster All I Need.
It's a monster.
It's big. Yeah, I was kind of floored right off the bat. I was like, well, holy shit, we're just going to come out and just go after it. So yeah, I mean, I really, really strong start.
Yeah, man. I just want to underscore what you said because I was going to say exactly what you said, which is I was surprised by the breadth of jamming styles that we saw in this show, and I was also surprised by like right away, and I think we were all talking about it while it was happening, which is like, I mean, they just dove right back into like winter 2022, and I agree with you both. Like, there was definitely a bit of like Trevor's bass plodding through your nightmares in
Yeah.
this jam, just like Nash Cakes. And then there was definitely that really dark edge on this, just like Portland Echo. And those are two jams that I think are really just emblematic
Emblematic of
of
that
what they
sound.
did early on in the tour. So yeah, man, this thing was killer, and there's so much depth to this jam, and
Yeah.
yeah, like absolutely loved it, and I just was so excited at the time. I was like, "Holy shit! Like, here we go!" Like, I
Yeah,
mean,
we're like,
they just
this is
came out the
it.
gate.
Goose is
Like,
back.
I mean, they could have come out of the gate and done like Atlas Dogs, and would have been like, "Yeah, this is pretty
Well,
cool."
they
Like,
they could have played the middle of this set before the All I Need, and then
right?
it would have been
Yeah, I mean,
yeah.
and it was just a treat to start the day, where it's just like, "Oh man, here we go. This is going to be a really really amazing run," and I just love the way they kicked it off.
Yeah. And I mean, I also want to say, like, the crowd was very excited as this All I Need started getting going. And when they got into that kind of lookout Clevelandy kind of motif around, I think it's like 12, 13 minutes in, they get into that Out of the Darkness. Like, and Rick and Peter started doing those, like, that, like, bluesy trading thing that they did. I think the happiest person in the building at that moment was Spuds. He looked so excited while they were doing that. But the way they just organically found that kind of laid back, like, we're going to trade some licks here space was so cool. And then the Bliss Jam at the end. And then, of course, we would not be doing our duty if we did not call out the band for trolling us on the second jam. It was mean. He played the second jam for just enough time for everybody in the venue to process what was happening, start cheering really loudly, and then get the rug pulled out from under them. I like, I lost my mind immediately. I turned to Garrett, and like the two of us were like, "Oh my god, they're doing it!" And then by the time that was out of my mouth, he was already doing the Doctor Darkness intro. And getting confirmation that was a purposeful troll of us by the band was just a Peter, you son of a bitch.
I, I think it's a more effective troll if they would have like, 'cause it's kind of like a fake out, I guess. You know what I mean?
No, but you can hear on the soundboard, you can hear the crowd go nuts for the
Oh
second jam
yeah,
and then get the rug pulled out. I think that's a very effective troll.
yeah, no, definitely. Um, I guess I think it would be maybe it would be a little bit cooler if you're gonna, because I mean, at the end of the day, you're pulling the All I Need second jam, and then you're dropping Doctor Darkness. And I'm not a Doctor D hater. I'm not going to get into all that, but I do think if I'm trolling that, maybe you fake that All I Need second jam, and then you drop into Jive 2 right there.
That would have been sick. Alas,
Yeah, that would have
uh,
been cool. I mean, I like Doctor Darkness, honestly. Like, I don't get the hate for it. Like, I understand, wanting a bigger song, or maybe a more upbeat song after the All I Need, but I actually really like this song a lot. I
Yeah,
didn't feel that this set lost momentum at any point. Like, I mean, yeah, there was a dip in the energy after, we thought we were getting the second jam, but I thought they regained it pretty quickly with Doctor Darkness, and I was really excited to get Butterflies as well. This is my first Butterflies. That ending jam just kills, and as Neal, you've always said, like, we're gonna get a big one someday.
I mean, that's my hope. I mean, the jam that you get in that song is truly unique, and it's not really a
Yeah,
jam because they haven't really taken it for a walk yet. But the things they could do with that space that song creates, I think would be amazing. So I'm hoping they hear this. No, I'm not hoping they hear this because they're not going to hear this. But like, like I hope somehow I'm like putting it out into the universe that they just kind of do this kind of droning jam out of that and just really carry it out and see where that goes. because it is a truly unique Goose song. There is no other Goose song that's really like this one in terms of the space that it enters when it gets into the jam.
Yeah, that sonic field at the end, like yeah, I mean, I think we're always right there with you when you talk about that it's gonna happen. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
And we'll all high five Neal, when it does, because you were the pioneer of that thought. So
People for a
um,
jammed out butterflies.
it just feels it just feels like it would be such a natural, launch pad into some
Mm-hmm.
really cool exploration, and it could go just about anywhere. So um, yeah, it's and look, set one, night one of five, um, you also just know that you're gonna get a lot of songs.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't, there were no big surprises here for me. We didn't know what they were gonna play, but it's not a festival set.
Right.
It's 5 nights at the Cap, and you're gonna get a lot of stuff. I was really happy um, with overall. I think with the flow of this set. I mean, and dropping the Jive 2 there. I
Yeah.
mean, we've been
yep.
waiting for it.
I've been waiting for it. Show number. This was show number 18 for me in my first drive too. So I was so happy to get that. Clav tweet, Trevor bass solo. Had it all. Trevor. This drive 2 has the first ever band member submission of a tease for lgoose.net. Trevor himself let me know that he teased Earthling or Alien in the Jive 2, which I then verified. But very
Well, I'm glad
exciting
you
to get that.
verified it for Trevor. What
I
Trevor
wanted to make sure, but
So
it was
Trevor
there.
submitted. Ryan Storm verified.
lgoose.net team verified. There's a common misconception out there that I am the lgoose.net tease verification team. Neal can vouch for the fact that there are other people involved in the process.
You're not the team. You're just the gatekeeper. But that's okay. We all appreciate it.
If Trevor tells me he teased it, then I'm dropping it in.
I wanted to go and listen for it anyway to hear where it was.
If Trevor tells me anything, I'm listening because I don't think
true.
he tells anybody much. So,
but this had been on the shelf for a while, and I think that
Yep.
was
Yeah.
my point, is that this was a long time coming, and so
21 show gap.
So really happy to see it back, because this one being on the shelf for that long just boggles my mind.
Yeah, it's the longest gap for the song in 4 years.
Yeah, and I feel like maybe before we went on the air with Peter on the Jam of the Year pod, I think we might have mentioned Jive 2, just as we were all getting our personal, not requests in, but just asking some questions. You know what I mean? Just like doing some, like, it was like journalism.
Recon, yeah.
Yeah, we were just kind of asking questions and getting the answers that the people want. And I think the people
as in us.
People wanted to know, where's Jive 2, right? So
where the fuck is Jive 2? We want to know.
So we got it, and
We got it.
And I think that's awesome.
Yeah, and his first of many bass solos throughout the week. Man, Trevor, I mean, I'm going to keep saying it over and over again, but Trevor is my MVP of the Cap Run. 100%. Leading jams in a way that we have never heard him lead jams before. Absolutely destroying everything. Also, I think it really helps that I want to shout out Eric Loomis, who's the front of house sound guy for Goose. Has only been with them since the beginning of Taboo's tour. I felt that he really got the sound dialed in over this run. It was his 20th show on Sunday of the Cap Run, which is exciting. But I want to shout out Loomis for that amazing job with the front of house sound this run.
Yeah, and while we're on the topic of Trevor, I think we've seen more confidence from Trevor in this run.
Mm-hmm.
We've seen several solos in places where we didn't expect them. And
he didn't expect the Jive 2 one.
Yeah, no, I think they just kind of were like, go. And he was just like, all right, I guess so. But it was great.
Yeah, he's such a capable musician.
Mhm.
I think that it's great that he gets the spotlight on him. More than just kind of the traditional spots where where you expect it, or where it kind of happens every time in that song or whatever.
Mhm.
Um, I especially do love those bass solos that are unexpected.
Yeah.
Just makes them that much more special. So good job by Eric too. By the way, just to follow on what you were saying, and that's got to be tough, coming in with an act, on the rise, like Goose, and stepping in. And I thought about that because we stood right next to him in Boulder, um, and so we were just standing right there, so you could watch him a little bit, and watching his just how he works and how he you know kind of is he laser focused, or does he kind of look around the crowd and like kind of feel that a little bit, and things like that. So it was kind of cool. He seems like a really cool guy. um
Mhm.
and yeah, I mean, I know there was a deal where he was doing the soundboards for a while, and then kind of Peter took that back over, whatever. But that's that's a whole different thing. What I mean?
That's
That's a
neither here
different
nor there.
skill. Yeah, it's a different skill altogether. You know what I mean? So yeah, I just wanted to go on and on for a minute about that, just to follow on what you were saying. That, yeah, good
Yeah.
job by him. Seems like they've, obviously it's always about the crew and the family, with Goose. So nice to see him be embraced and, you know, do his thing. And yeah, good job.
Hell yeah. Let's talk about this Earthling or Alien.
Yes,
I
please.
listened to it a couple hours ago, and again, and I'm beginning to wonder whether it's better than Chrysalis. I may need to listen to Chrysalis again, but to me, this Earthling has an intent that Chrysalis doesn't. Obviously the amazing part about the Chrysalis Earthling comes out of the fact that Rick pops a string mid jam, so there's not the intent there, and they find the space by accident, which is really cool. But this Earthling, they go into it. Rick lays into this cow funky wah stuff, and then starts doing this crazy like octave up whammy, like dissonant, arpeggio stuff. Trevor again just leading with like these like super low notes. Peter getting wild on the synths. I mean, it's a really incredible piece of improvisation here.
It's, it's the efficiency,
Yeah,
that I think
also
Hell
that
yeah.
that.
they're talking about. And yeah, and here's the thing, it's like, Earthling or Alien is, you know, some people like it, and some people don't like it as much, but everybody likes the jams. Um, but one of the things about some of those Earthling or Alien jams last year is that I kind of felt they there was an inefficiency at times, and I never, I don't know about, I can't remember where you guys had it, but I definitely didn't have Chrysalis ERA as high on my list, in my final 64 as a lot of people did. And that was always kind of part of it for me, is that it was always a struggle for me on re-listen to get through everything to this, to where I wanted to get to. You know what I mean? So this one, that's what I kind of really like this one. And it's the second big dope jam of the night. And yeah, it might be the most efficient. If we look at efficiency and quality, I mean, this might be near the top for me in terms of ERAs. So yeah, I was a big fan. You know what I mean? It again, when it kicks in, I'm not jumping out of my seat, but um, man, midway through this jam, I was like, well, shit, let's go.
So I wouldn't be myself if I didn't drop a hot take that nobody would agree
Ooh.
with. Yeah, so here we go. This Earthling or Alien has my favorite 1 minute segment of jamming out of the whole run. And I know what that means because there's a jam later this show that will make you say, boy, is he wrong. But there's, I mean, you know the part that I'm talking about, which is like right at the beginning part where they drop into the jam. That like Trevor has got this kind of revolving bass line. And in the moment when we were talking about it, we were saying like this kind of sounds like Stranglehold. And it does. So like if you know the Ted Nugent song Stranglehold, it like kind of somewhat reminds you of that. Like not that I'm a Ted Nugent fan or anything, but hey, it's a classic
Disclaimer.
rock radio staple. And it's amazing the space that they found in that. It's such an incredible jam segment, and I absolutely love it. I love it so much.
Do you love it so much that you want to go to Florida?
No, absolutely not. And I know where you're going with this, and no. But there is an even like not equally as remarkable jam segment that comes on the end where Rick is really like toying with some effects that he has, where he gets like a really unique sound in this. And they do a lot of exploration in this, and it's awesome. And the other note that I have for this, if you're listening to people or listening to Peter sing the words in this song, he sang them differently.
Yeah.
So he said, "I mostly eat the plants," instead of
Scandal of scandals.
I only eat the plants. So, I mean, Peter's veganism now called into question.
Brian, how do you feel about this?
I'm
Did
not
you hear
ready
this?
to talk about it.
Do you feel
That was
betrayed?
surprising to me. It was. But and maybe he's saying other words differently, but that's the one that stuck out to me.
Yeah, I see. I didn't hear it at the time, but Paige Caruso pointed it out today in the Goose Times group chat, and I was like, "Oh, like interesting."
Maybe
Very
he's
interesting thing.
maybe he's singing that like on behalf of the band, like as a
you
band.
know what, whatever helps you sleep at night.
Mostly, I don't know. I mean, I don't
And maybe he was feeling protein deficient that day, and he just had like a Slim Jim. Like, I mean, who the fuck knows? But like, that's what
Possible.
happened.
Anything's
Well,
possible.
Yeah, I mean, look, I'm not just to go back to what Neal was saying. I'm not as intimately familiar with Ted Nugent's catalog,
Oh, come on.
so I didn't hear the Strangler or whatever it was. But yeah. I mean, look, just a phenomenal jam, and I think we'll wrap up the set here and move along. But just two really amazing jams in set one. So just hard to not I don't know what you were thinking at the show, Ryan, but hard not to kind of end this set one without feeling really really good about
Oh,
how things started.
I was very excited. Got my set break bathroom break in early during So Ready. It was great. But yeah, I was very very happy with this first set. And I'm ready to dive into set two. Like this is a really good set. Again, we opened with this Wisteria, coming off of 2022, which is undoubtedly the year of the Wisteria, first version of 2023, and they really this was a trend. I mean, for this set, at least the two improvisational songs, just shredding the absolute fuck out of the song, like the Type 1 portion of this Wisteria. Rick just going for it. I think it's longer than it usually is before they drop into the regular jam, but wow, like the energy in the room was just going nuts. And then they drop into this beautiful, beautiful jam in the second half. And to me, I was immediately like, okay, like, the first set, the bigger jams, the two big jams in the first set were kind of very dark oriented. The All I Need and the Earthling, both the memorable parts of them is the darkness. Like the All I Need has some light in it as well. But the second set, they immediately go into this Wisteria that gets into this very Peter on piano led Bliss section. And I thought it was awesome. Really nice juxtaposition with the first set. I mean, obviously nowhere close to the Bliss jam that comes later in the second set that we're going to talk about in a minute. But I thought this Wisteria was great. I don't know if how long it's going to stay on my playlist, but it's on there for now.
I mean, it's really good and interesting. I had a couple thoughts when I listened to this. My first thought when they played it was like, holy shit, like they're playing all of their jams in the first night. Like we got All I Need and Wisteria in the first night. And it was like, what are they going to have left after 5 nights? And then my kind of second thought was this jam, this Wisteria, very reminiscent of like early 2021. So if you go back and you listen to like the Sewanee Wisteria or you listen to the Caverns Wisteria, they both have a similar vibe. And like that vibe hasn't really come back since then in Wisterias. And man, like, boy, do I love a Blissey Wisteria. I mean, like I remember years ago when we were doing what was that app called again, where we all like got together and talked about
Clubhouse.
on Clubhouse.
Sunday
And
shenanigans.
yeah, and we were on like Clubhouse talking about that Sewanee Wisteria, and I think I was saying the same exact things, which is this Bliss Jam is just outrageously good, and I loved it.
Yeah, I agree with all of that. Really strong first jam, and Rick dropping, you know, this. I feel like maybe in All I Need, I noticed it a little bit too, but definitely in the Wisteria, you started to pick up on that heavier tone. Um, that we started to see a little bit more towards the latter part of last year, which I just love. I mean, I love that just fucking growling heavy tone. Speaking of Suwannee,
Yeah,
not so much in the Wisteria at that show, but
right.
the All I Need and that Jive Lee were just he's just absolutely ripping through the amp that night. Yeah, I agree. This Wisteria, it's like it is reminiscent of some of that earlier stuff. Even for me, like I thought of NOLA, New Orleans from last year, which was kind of there's just so many good Wisterias. It's kind of crazy. But I thought this one is kind of in that boat in terms of last year's versions where it's really strong, but it's gonna get outdone.
Outclassed. Yeah.
Yeah. But I on re-listen, it's still really strong to me. I still really do like it. The nice chill the last 4 or 5 minutes, it's just so chill and beautiful. I mean, and coming out of just the ripping ending of that first jam,
Mm-hmm.
and then it's just so it's just so serene and pretty sounding. So yeah, I'm a really big fan of this. I think some of the people that I've been outside of our group, that I've been talking to online, I think there seems to be a camp that's like, oh yeah, there were 3 amazing jams night one, and then there's a camp that was like, oh yeah, there were 4 amazing jams night one. I'm in the latter. I mean, I have this Wisteria, which seems to be the one that some people are leaving out.
Mm-hmm.
I think this is an amazing jam, and I'm not worried right now if it's going to be on this list or that list at the end of the year, or whatever. I'm really happy to be re-listening to it right now, and regardless of how many better versions they play, this is really really good stuff that they dropped. So yeah, top jam, number 4 jam of the night.
Yes, but
Granted,
still a
but
really good jam.
4 really solid jams.
It's a high bar. And then we get a rare mid-set Doobie song. Also coming off of a few encore appearances. The last 2 show gaps on this song have been over 30 shows. So cool to see this one crop up again. I like this placement much more than the encore personally. Coming off after a big jam, also in between 2 big jams as it would be, but I think it works well as a landing pad. Everyone gets to groove, smoke a little weed, like a cool kid. But yeah, it was good.
I think this was the first non-encored version. You'd have to go all the way back to 2021, I think. I think I looked it up that night, but I can't remember. But I want to say every version in 2022, which there were.
Yep.
It was played. It was played 4 times last year, and every time was an encore. So
the last non-encore Doobie was 11/7/21 in Atlanta when it closed the first set or second set. Sorry.
Yeah. So I agree. I like, and I don't mind it as an encore. By the way, I think it's. I actually kind of like it. As an encore. I think it's
DC Night 1 had it as an encore.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, look, there's a lot of songs that get encore that I would take Doobie over. So I'll say that. But yeah, I thought this was a really cool spot for it. Just the only thing that I would like if I had everything my way, is I would kind of like extend that outro of Wisteria and get maybe take it a little bit out there a little bit, bring things down, and then slowly bring Doobie out of that. You know what I mean? I think that would sound really really cool. And I think on some of the jams, I think one of the things that happens with the Goose sometimes in some of these jams is how to end it. And I can't remember what it was. It was either night 4, night 5. There was one that was almost kind of comical because they were really. I don't know if you guys know what I'm talking about. I can't remember what it was, but
not off the top of my head.
They were nobody knew exactly. Like Ben was doing some classic kind of drum setup to the ending, but Peter was also kind of doing it, and they kind of. I think they even laughed a little bit about it. I'll have to try to remember maybe as we're talking through the rest of the stuff what that might have been, but yeah. So I don't know. Sometimes maybe just I'd like to see him just bring it down. You know, Doobie's on the list, so you don't have to end it. Just bring it way down.
Yeah.
Yeah, 5-night run. You're getting
just-
a doobie, like a mid-set doobie. When that came out, I was like, hell yeah! It's like a 5-night run. Like, let's go. Like, we're gonna dig deep in this catalog, and we're gonna get like stuff that you're not used to.
So, let's talk about this drive. Let's talk about this fucking drive.
I think we're gonna call it the Doobie Drive.
Doobie Drive, but oh my god, what a drive this was. So starting off, before we even get into the jam, that like brief guitar solo that Rick takes before the jam, or what used to be before the O part, it was like 4 times the length of normal. I mean, in the room, the place was just going nuts as he just like peaked it again and again and again and again. It was awesome because 2-guitar Goose is awesome. When Rick is just shredding, Peter's laying down that foundation. It was such a cool moment just to be like, holy shit, like he's not letting this go. Like, he wasn't content with just the, 3 or 4 times around the chord progression that he normally does there before moving on to the jam proper. What was interesting after this also was it sounds like he was playing the progression from the O part briefly before going straight into the jam.
You're talking about the compose section?
Like the whoa. So that goes like B, A, G, and it sounds like he went to the G briefly, but then realized that like, oh, like I didn't tell the rest of the band at set break that I wanted to do this, so they're already in the jam. But and then Peter just leads us into this Bliss jam, and I went earlier today just to figure out what he was playing, and it's really just a very basic B to E chord progression, like and not anything super exciting, but what he's playing and the way that the band executes it makes it feel so special and unique, and it's just absolutely gorgeous. Further reinforces my thing that I was feeling in this set. Like, okay, first set was about the darkness, second set they're just going for beautiful shit, and wow.
Yeah, I mean, just going back to that I mean, Rick just completely shredded that, and more just that heavy. Oh my gosh! I mean, just
shout
the
out
heavy
to his new tone,
just the gnarly shit that he's putting out there tone wise, and just absolutely shredding with it. I mean, yeah, it was so good, and they should have went into the old school, bridge or compose section, or whatever, because that's what we want. And boy, that would have been a money time. That would have been a really money time to do it too, to give us that again, because that it just, I mean, the shreddery there was downright ridiculous. And then the super gorgeous, just so gorgeous, that jam. And this is where we get into kind of, some of that nice, sweet finger picking, just coming in soft, a nice foundation of beauty. And yeah, it's reminiscent obviously of like the rosewood and the pancakes and the drip field from the fall. And so really, really cool to see that. I think it works really, really well. I'm guessing that's why they keep doing it, because because obviously we're talking about Rick shredding that so hard, but the whole band is also just,
Yeah.
it's yeah, you know what I mean? The whole thing, it's like a high speed train just going down the tracks and just everybody's crushing, everybody's it's it's loud, but everybody's together. It's precise at the same time. You know what I mean? It's just I think that's why it sounds so amazing. Is it's not just that Rick is shredding, but everything underneath that is also so good.
Hmm.
And so that to go from that and into just this beautiful, just gorgeous jam, I think it really works so well.
Yeah, when we did the day after, I was talking about it. It sounds to me like we're going to talk about this jam in two segments, right? There's like the bliss portion, and there's like the kind of second part of the drive
The
jam
other
that comes
15
after.
minutes.
Yeah, so like I'll start by talking about that. So when we were talking about this on the day after show, I was saying like this is when we talk about Goose, and people say like, oh, they're an indie groove band, and it's like kind of like a tongue in cheek joke. This is it right here. There's a very,
This is indie groove.
very strong indie rock vibe to this jam. Maybe even more so than these kind of like major key blissy jams that we got in the fall. And this to me sounds like, and we were talking about this before we recorded, Explosions in the Sky. So like if you've ever listened or like watched Friday Night Lights, that intro music before like the show is this band Explosions in the Sky, which is this amazing like atmospheric indie rock band. And this sounds so much like that. And man, I could just consume this like just hours of this. Like I mean, they could just show up and just play like hours of just Peter instigating amazing bliss jams because he really is the guy who started this. If you listen
Yeah.
real close, uh, Peter kind of starts with this like I mean I think it's just two chords, right? Like Ryan, you were saying, it's a
Yep.
BE kind of thing,
But he's playing.
and
What he's doing is he's emphasizing specific notes. So what he's
right,
playing is F sharp, B, E, B.
okay, so like going off of
For
that, like
anyone who cares about that sort
yeah,
of thing.
he's laying this kind of foundation for this jam, and like he starts it off, and he's really eager to get into it, and then Rick just kind of does what Rick does, and just absolutely takes off. And I can't say enough about this jam. People are say it's overrated. I disagree so
I scoff
strongly.
at you.
I scoff at them. It's beautiful, and but wait, there's more.
Mhm.
Once this ends, there's a whole. I mean, I don't know how much. I mean, I think it's almost 10 minutes after this.
15 minutes.
It's almost
Yeah,
15 minutes.
it's almost 15 minutes, and that jam, while not nearly as good as this jam that like we're enamored with, is spectacular. It's a
Yeah.
very very good jam.
It's that last 5 minutes of the jam, that space that they get into where it's somewhere in between major and minor key. Peter does this thing to his piano where it's like a really like abrupt delay. It's like a like, but so he hits it and it plays like a and it's you know what I mean when I make that sound effect that sounds nothing like what the
Yeah,
jam actually
I get
sounds
you.
like.
I'm picking up what you're
But
putting down.
the groove that they get into there. Also, this is a big Spuds moment where he really makes this segment of the jam. I've listened to this drive probably 7 times in the last 2 days. Since the
That's it.
boards dropped. Like I know I gotta pump the numbers up. It's rookie numbers. But every time I'm like I get so lost in this bliss jam. And then they get into the second jam. I'm like, okay, drive second jam, Peter on the clav, it's awesome. And then this ending segment hits, and I'm like, oh yeah, like, it's not like they play a really cool bliss jam for 5 minutes, and then it's like, all right, we're gonna, play the drive second jam for 15 minutes. Like, you stick through all 29 minutes because it's worth it.
Yep.
Not because the second half of the jam isn't as good as the first half. And this ending segment is so good.
Yeah, so I wonder if some of the people that might not like this one as much, or say that it's overrated a little bit, maybe it's because the second jam is not, you know, it's not, maybe not on par with the first jam. The second jam to me is it's a little bit of an old school drive jam. I feel like just kind of straightforward dance party rock type stuff. But yeah, I mean, as a whole, this is a really awesome drive. We were talking before, maybe not up there with DC from last year, or Bingo Tour is another, maybe goat version for a lot of people. But yeah, this one has a lot going for it. And here, I need to play this one part real quick.
Oh, we got a clip.
Hold on. Here it is. It's let me start it over.
Oh no.
Yes. Yes. Yeah, absolutely. I know exactly what you're talking about.
That shit that Rick does right there was so fucking cool. And,
That's Peter.
What?
Like you're talking about the weird siren-y stuff?
Yeah, I thought that was Rick doing that. Okay.
Peter's got this is this Moger Foger delay pedal. And if you watch his rig tour video from last year, he talks about how if you turn one of the dials up to a certain point, it becomes like its own tone, which is what that siren thing is that he kind of messes with.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I thought it was Rick just because of kind of how I was hearing it coming out of the other, because Rick's doing some crazy shit there too.
Yeah.
The lines, I know the line 6 delay will make some really cool sounds like that when you get down into the dials. But anyway, it sounds so cool. So good job by Peter if that was him. And yeah, you know what it reminds me of? So the part in Tweezer after the Uncle Ebenezer part where shit gets crazy, and Trey will dial something in that kind of will rotate around and sometimes it just lines up perfectly to drop back into the main tweezer. Like that's kind of what that was the first thing that I thought of when I heard that. But I was like, holy shit, that was fucking just perfect awesome timing and sounded so cool how they did that.
Yeah,
you can call the cops on guitar as well as keys.
Yeah, I like jumped out of my chair when that happened. And the funny thing is, when you started playing that clip, I was like, I know exactly where he's going with this.
Yeah.
That is fucking killer. And, the beauty of like improvisational music is every once in a while, everything lines up just right. And it did right there. It's gorgeous.
Yeah. What a drive.
Yeah. They played other songs.
And then we can't not mention the loose ends ending.
Yes, of course.
Of course. Yeah. Right.
The first of
two,
many
two official loose ends, but there was a vibe happening.
I thought and I think a lot of people thought that on night 5 it was coming. I wasn't as confident. I wasn't confident enough to put it in my picks, but I thought it was coming. I mean, I after all those teases, I kind of thought it was coming, but it'll come.
It'll come back. They haven't played the song itself since Radio City, I don't think. But, we got a couple of nice teases in here. It's always a fun lick. I obviously, me being the nerd that I am, I love when a tease happens. So similarly, like, the Jive 2 tease in Earthling in the first set, when I heard that, I was like, oh, and so the loose ends was an exciting moment to hear. But yeah, it was great. And then set closes with Yeti and Eurosian. I feel like it maybe would have gone better to close the set if the two songs were inverted. I really love Eurosian as a landing pad after a big jam. I love the song, and I still thought the placement was great. But I think Yeti works better as a set closer in this scenario.
A first set closer.
Hey-o!
Hey, why don't we talk about the encore? How about that?
Let's talk about the encore. This is sick pancakes.
Yeah, the interesting thing is, it always grateful to have an encore like pancakes, right?
Yeah.
It could have been anything, and you get a pancakes for the encore. And again, I'm thinking, like, man, they're emptying the tank of like all of these jams that I really love, right? Like we got All I Need,
and they'd only played one cover.
Yeah,
or like half a cover.
we've got Wisteria, we've got Drive, and then they're playing Pancakes in the encore, and I was like, oh man, where are they going to go with this? I think the one piece of disappointment that I had is they did not have enough breathing room to play Pancakes the way I think Pancakes deserves to be played, and that was kind of a drag. But I mean, hey man, a Pancakes encore is pretty great.
Maybe
Yeah,
maybe they'll
yeah,
give you a big one in Boston next week.
Let's hope.
yeah, yeah. When you look at the rest of the five, when you look at how the sets were laid on the rest of the 5 nights, I do think that maybe Pancakes might have been a little bit wasted here.
Yep.
But on the other side of that coin, sometimes with a lot of these songs, it's sometimes a 12-minute just fire Pancakes is a
It's
great way
fun.
to end it. It is it is a great encore, and it doesn't have to. It kind of takes the pressure off it of okay, well, we got to take it out there and see what happens. I mean, there's always a little bit of a risk with that. You know what I mean? So it is nice to have a just a nice straightforward, rockin' type one, if you will, Pancakes in the encore slot. Yeah, no problems with that.
Bring
Yeah.
it.
Hell
Great
yeah.
ending to a great show.
It was
Yep.
agreed.
Yeah, I mean, if you're
Oh,
thinking about great shows, right? You're thinking about what are they playing in the first set, what are they playing in the second set, and also what is the encore. And that is, I mean, that is how you make a great show. You finish off your show with an absolute banger of a song.
all right, so let's jump into night two, Thursday, March the 9th. Yeah, set one, Jive One opener. And I'm just going to kind of run through this because I
Do
think
it.
obviously we're going to try to move through these a little bit quicker than night one. Um, but yeah, Jive One, Atlas Dogs, old school version, but Sans Jam, Elizabeth, California Magic, Born, Old Man's Boat, and Rockdown. So we'll talk about some of these a little bit more. But yeah, I mean, to kick it off, I like a Jive One opener. I think it's a nice opener. Atlas Dogs was a little bit surprised that it was just such a quick non-jam version, but do like always a fan of the OG style. For me, the first thing probably to talk about it all would be the Elizabeth, though, which had a really nice extended jam, kind of like Elizabeth tends to do, gives you a nice fire jam. Not maybe not much in the lines of incredible improv that we'll want to go back to over and over, but
Mhm.
a really first nice jam of the night for sure.
Yeah, I mean, if you're an Elizabeth lover like I am, you're
I love
always
the song.
looking for that Elizabeth jam, right? And the interesting thing here is, I would have thought they would have opened this show with Elizabeth, because they do like an Elizabeth opener here and there. And yeah, I mean, I thought it was cool. And that's like the first part of the set where I was like, all right, like here we go, like we're gonna get right back to where we were in night one. And I don't think that actually did happen. But this was like kind of the first glimpse of them really kind of digging in and jamming. I mean, that Jive One was like a solid 11 minutes, but like I don't think it really got anywhere crazy. And then Atlas Dogs, like you said, was surprisingly short. And yeah, it's a
I'm not.
shame. It's a shame that it was as short as it was. But yeah,
Mhm.
I really dug that Elizabeth.
What I'm not really expecting Atlas Dogs to be jammed anymore. Again, we've talked about this a lot. How
Yep.
Goose is lacking in the really good 5-minute song department. I think Atlas Dogs fills that nicely. And so I'm willing to now go into it expecting, okay, they're playing Atlas Dogs, they're gonna play the song, then they're gonna move on. And if I get surprised by a jam, awesome. If I don't, I love the song. So I'm not gonna complain about seeing it again. And yeah, Elizabeth was great. Really, really, really nice. A little bit of churn in there, as Elizabeth does well.
Yep.
Yeah, good Elizabeth for sure.
Good stuff.
And so then California Magic, which it's a song that I really like. I will admit at this point in the set, I was kind of starting to think, okay, I mean, maybe night one isn't going to be repeated in terms of big jams and multiple big jams and things of that nature. But then Born kicks in, and so now we're thinking, oh, okay, here we go. But it didn't sound like Born normally sounds. We had a little bit of a kind of a new feel, higher tempo feel. And Ryan, you'll probably
Double
tell us
time,
more.
double time feel
I was
as
just going to say,
noted
you'll
in
probably
coach's
give us
notes.
the, all the lingo and, kind of music doctor stuff. But to me, it just sounded fast. That's the word I used.
Hmm.
And it did have a long jam. It was interesting because we had this higher tempo version of the song proper, and then we had a really laid back jam.
Hmm.
And this jam was almost a little bit too laid back. It kind of felt to me, it kind of felt like it maybe just meandered a bit, and was looking for somewhere to go, and and maybe never quite found exactly what it was looking for. To be honest, I haven't gone back and listened to this one a ton, um, but I always liked the Born. Obviously, we had the huge Born, last year in Dylan that did so well in the bracket. So, some other strong versions as well. So we know it's there. Love to see them taking it to those spaces for sure. So looking forward to, and also make continue to kind of change things up on that song. So definitely always looking forward to hearing Born. So yeah. I mean, what do you guys think?
So I gotta say I'm not 100% sold on this double time Born. I really like the slower, more emotional
Yeah.
version that we've been used to.
Yep.
Obviously, at first with the fast echo, I wasn't 100% sold on it. Now I'm all in on fast echo. So, and I'm sure there were people that when they slowed All I Need down were like, oh, the fast one, I miss it. So, given time, it's possible that this one could become better. And none of us were fans when they first introduced Slow All I Need, so we can't speak to that
I
one.
was.
You were?
Yeah,
Oh yeah.
I think I was also,
I
but
was
I
never
mean,
really a fan of Fast All I
In
Need.
June 2019, you were?
Oh yeah.
that was a long time ago. I mean, we're talking almost 4 years ago. I mean,
Yeah.
hey, I'll say this about this Born. I mean,
Well,
they've taken so many unique attempts at playing Born, right? We've talked about this a bunch, like the slow synth build, and then like all these other versions that they do. And then this is just like another kind of stab at a tune that, like, I don't know, maybe they just don't want to play it all the time the way that it sounds on the album.
yeah.
Like I think they enjoy crowd participation, but like maybe like it does feel kind of weird if you're up there and
Hmm.
then all of a sudden you've got all of the crowd singing along to one of your songs, and that's the only one, right?
I
That's
felt that
that's
with
happening
this
too.
arrangement, I felt that with this arrangement, it slid into a more extended jam. It felt much easier than in the previous arrangements. Like even the
Yeah, there's
Dylan
like a
one that went
hard
really
stop.
long, it
Yep.
felt like there was like it takes some effort to get out of that groove and go somewhere different. This
Well,
new
is it
arrangement, it felt like they got there with more ease. Like it was a smoother transition.
Yeah, is it maybe easier to slow the tempo going into kind of improv territory versus the opposite of coming out of something slow? And I don't know.
Yeah,
Maybe.
and the other thing that I have to say about this jam, which is like kind of this is I think is what kind of Ryan was talking about, which is all right, this is new territory. This is a different approach to the song. And it didn't it didn't gel. Like I don't think it gelled. And I think there were moments when you listen to this where there was a lot of space in this. And the funny thing about this show is there's space elsewhere in the show. We're going to talk about that as well. But in this particular jam, it was almost like they were kind of like waiting for somebody to do something that like was going to like spark a whole jam segment, but nobody ever really kind of like picked up that ball and ran with it. So what we ended up getting in the end was like almost 17 minutes of this song that like nobody ever really kind of picked it up and did anything. It was cool. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, I think it sounds like I'm like talking about this jam like it sucked. It definitely didn't,
It did
but
not.
it did not. And like, but like, I guess I was hoping for more.
Mm, that's
Yeah,
fair.
yeah. I don't know why you hate Born so much.
I love Born. I absolutely love Born. And actually, this
Stop
did
hating Neil.
The funny thing about this one, actually, we were talking about the sing along. Sorry, Brian, but like, it is the crowd took a minute to like jump into the sing along, and then it did actually happen when they were doing it. But yeah, you know, then the jam ensued. Go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah. And look, on one hand, I'm sure there's lots of people that love this version and love this jam. So that's great. And also, I mean, I love that they do. I have no problem with trying out different stuff and taking stuff to, taking stuff out there and, trying to get to the place. And it's just not always, it's not always going to work for everybody, for everybody's ears. And that's okay. I got no problem. I had no big problems with it. You know what I mean? So nobody here likes Born anymore. Let's move on to.
That's what we.
That's like not at all what I was trying to say, but I guess that's the way it came off. Should we talk about the next
Boat.
song?
Old Man's Boat.
Boat,
yeah.
and
Hey,
it was a boat.
it was a boat. So this is like my chance to talk about my experience at the Cap. So this was my first night on the run. I did 2 nights. I did this night and the following night. We were hanging. We
were hanging in the second set, but we didn't see.
Yeah, you were like backside rail, right there, taper rail.
Yeah, and then I moved back.
Then you came over and hung out with us, and this was the moment in the show where I'd been to the Cap before, but it was for Phil and friends, so it was a very different experience. There were more people. There was much more of a party at this one. But let me tell you something about the men's bathroom at the Cap.
Let's do it. Yeah.
And like this is the one thing I wanted to talk about when we're talking about this show. So went down to the men's bathroom. Of course, hey, listen, if you go to a lot of Goose shows, the game is when they play Old Man's Boat, you go to the bathroom and get back before the jam starts. That's the game. And I'm playing that every time. That's
accounting for standing in line time, by the way. Neal doesn't need to pee for 8 minutes.
Yes, right. So, the funny thing about the Cap is I don't know who designed that bathroom or who thought it was a good idea, but there's really enough room for like maybe three, maybe 4 grown men to stand and pee. But like,
what are there, like 6 urinals?
There's like 6 urinals. Yeah.
You're literally like your elbows are intersecting with everyone else's, like the people's elbows on either side of you. It's cozy.
Sounds amazing.
It is the most awkward situation I have ever peed in my entire life.
And it's also great because everybody in there makes up for the awkwardness by making a comment about it. Like, wow, they really designed this. Like, it's real cozy in here.
I love the Cap. The venue is amazing. Like, if you want a beer, you get a beer. And you get it fast. Bathroom situation, garbage. Sucks.
Seems like maybe going to the bathroom in Garcia's is the move, but I think the lineup for the Garcia's bathroom was like 3 times the length of the lineup for the Cap.
They had like the kind of like classic single stall situation, but I don't know. I don't want to waste a bunch of time on the pod talking about it. But
we talked about the bathroom situation. That's
it's part of the vibe. It's part of the vibe.
It's part of the vibe, and we'll talk about my me meeting the vibe guy right outside the bathroom at the same time later in the run, which was a funny coincidence. But this Rockdale, really solid Rockdale. I know people are going to crucify us for not calling it Jam of the Year and the best Rockdale and whatever. It's a really good Rockdale. Rockdale is always really good. But I love the song. I love the jams that happen. This is a nice extended version. It's not on my playlist.
Strong version.
Yeah.
Strong version. A little bit of the Goose Miss Ozzy feel for a minute or two at the start of the jam, and then a really good, upbeat, high energy jam to close it out. Like you said, it's a longer than average version. I mean, it's probably. Oh, I mean, it's definitely my favorite. Part of of set 1 for sure.
Yeah.
So nice. I mean, look, and that's the spot. I mean, that's just the money spot for Rockdale. Just absolutely love, crushing out set 1, with a Rockdale into the break.
Yeah, I think this Rockdale goes to a couple different spaces. I really enjoyed the kind of section that was reminiscent of the Goose Miss Rockdale, which I really loved in the moment.
Yeah.
And so this one kind of sounded like it didn't get like full on into the crazy train. And then it
It
kind
was
of,
close.
yeah, and then it kind of does that thing that is somewhere in between like the like Italian folk song kind of Tarantella thing, and then somewhere in between klezmer and those two things. And that segment was like pretty neat, but like it's a segment we've heard before for sure.
Mhm.
But like and then it ends. Like I think that's the important thing to talk about when you're talking about this Rockdale. The tempo at the end of this Rockdale is outrageously fast, and it's really really cool. And I think that section right there is what makes me want to like go back and listen to this Rockdale. I liked it a lot. I thought it was pretty killer.
Yeah, yeah. All right. Well, set two is where it's at. Night two for me, probably for everybody. Big, really big tumble to kick off set two, clocking in around 24 minutes, and this is a really strong tumble.
Hmm.
It reminded me a little bit of talking about Goosemas again, but Goosemas was another situation where it's really good tumble, and tumble's one of these songs, and this is another one of these kind of somewhat typical tumble jams, albeit extended, where I mean it's kind of a dance party. It's kind of just there's a lot of energy. Um, there's the tempo is there, the energy is there. It's just a really really fun experience live, and I was really interested to go back and listen to this after hearing it, on the stream that night, and it is good. I mean, I think it's while it's not up there with a lot of the improv from night one, I really do like this. I think for me, this is one of the better tumbles that they've played. Certainly in the last, going back to the versions from last year. So yeah, I was pretty happy with this tumble to start the set. I mean, I thought it was. I think coming off this tumble, we were thinking, oh, okay, so yeah, let's go. What's going on
Yeah,
set two?
it's big, right? So when you look at this on paper, you're like, okay, big tumble. Like this is gonna be a like absolute, you know, superstar of a jam. And it I don't think it is that like on re-listen value, but in the moment it was pretty killer. I mean, I think there's a couple really cool parts of this tumble when you go back and listen to it. I mean, Rick has like a I'm gonna sound like John Schofield button, and I don't know what it is that he hits when he does it, but he does it in this jam, and he does it actually throughout this run, but it's really super notable here. And there are a couple sections where it was just like, holy crap! Like, not only does his tone sound like Schofield, his phrasing sounds like Schofield. And if you like Schofield as much as I do, that's exciting stuff. And then, as this tumble goes on, I think the meat of this tumble jam kind of actually turns out to be something that is loosely based around Love is a Battlefield. Or at least that's what it sounds like to me when I listen to it.
Hmm.
And it was super fun to dance to, dude. I was at the show and I was having a blast.
You were
But
so there's something very special about Neal at a Goose show. Like nobody just has like people are smiling, like I'm smiling, people are happy, but like Neal, like even when he's getting super into like when I get super into a jam, sometimes I will like not smile and just be like focused on what's happening. Neal is just like happy. He's just having a great time. You look over at him, he's just got this smile on his face. It's really wholesome. It's really awesome. I would recommend doing shows with Neal because it's great.
hey man, it's that one kind of segment of your life where you get to like put everything to the side and you just get to like have fun. And like I think that's what tumble is. I love tumble. I love it when they play a tumble, and this tumble was super. I mean, it was great, and it was you get a lot of it.
Hey, listen, I also would recommend hanging out with Neil at a show, and
Oh god.
it just makes me think of Eau Claire. Just first time we met, he had the captain's hat on. I
You
mean,
got to bring that hat
just
back, man.
just a jewel in the crowd of of fans. So
Yeah, it was like
yeah,
barefoot
yeah,
in the
big fan.
grass.
Yeah.
The grass was spectacular. Hey, listen, man. When it's all said and done, and like 5 years from now, we're seeing Goose shows. I'm still going to talk about being barefoot in that luxurious grass at Eau Claire.
Oh
No
my
doubt.
gosh.
Fair enough.
Just wanted to sleep on it.
Yeah, no, it was like perfect. Ryan, you
Well,
missed out.
the border was closed. I could not travel to the US without spending 2 weeks locked in my house. In
So, Judd,
hindsight, maybe going to a bunch of Goose would have been worth it. But you know what? That's neither here nor there. I want to talk about this tumble a little bit. Besides the pick up the pieces tease, which, probably my favorite tweet of the entire week, about myself, which, that tweets happened, but somebody tweeting that they were standing behind me during this tumble jam and they watched me notice the tease, react to the tease, tweet about the tease, and then go back to dancing all within 15 seconds.
And then
was
pod
pretty
about
funny.
yourself doing all that.
Yeah, well, that's not within 15
it is
seconds.
amazing.
But
it's circular.
I sent my mom that tweet, and no one in my family was surprised about the speed with which I did that. But I'm very happy. Thank you, Goose. Especially Rick, Peter, and Trevor, who were doing the teases this week. Thank you for doing all that stuff, because as much as I love Goose, my experience is heightened when I get to recognize moments like that and be like, oh, like I know what song you're teasing here in the middle of this awesome jam. I don't think I'm as high on this tumble as you two are. I have it more towards the bottom of my current 10 or 11 song list, but it's still very, very good. I felt that it's kind of standard for a lot of it. It's a really good tumble, but you're underrating this other big jam in this set that we will get to. So
Yeah.
let's
We'll
talk
get
about
there.
this new song.
Yeah. And we're just trying to keep things positive here.
Ryan.
Hey.
Okay. All right. Okay.
So listen, I think one of the questions coming into the run was, are we going to get some new songs? So
Are we?
Yep, we are. We did. And the first one came right after this tumble, and it's called Not Alone. And so it was another moment. It's always a moment of, okay, is this a cover, that I just don't know? Or is it, sometimes I kind of feel like with Rick songs, especially, you can kind of, if you don't recognize it as a known cover, I think Rick's lyrics will probably start to immediately jump out at you, and you'll realize that, okay, yeah, this is probably not an unknown cover. This is most likely a new Rick song, and you can generally hear that. So that was kind of the case with this one. And yeah, kind of, a ballad, but yeah, this is a nice ballad. I think it's a nice addition to the repertoire. I think it's always good to have, some ballads that you can bring out. And, we've got some beloved ones, obviously, with Goose already. So it'll be nice to see how this one comes out. We'll talk about Arise coming out after a long layoff, on night 3. But yeah, so I was really happy for this new song. I haven't, again, I probably listened to it only 3 or 4 times, so I don't have, I couldn't write a paper on it or anything. But yeah, I was happy to see this. And coming out of that big high energy tumble, I thought this was a really nice spot for them to drop a new track like this.
Yeah, the funny thing about Rick ballads that I've learned, especially since we've heard a bunch of new ones recently, is that they age well. So I enjoyed this, and I have a feeling I'm going to enjoy it a whole hell of a lot more real soon. And yeah, I just love that they're writing songs, and they're writing good songs. Like, this is not a song. This will never be a bathroom song, right? Like, sometimes when a ballad is written, you're like, right off the bat, you're like, this one, I'm taking a break during this one. I don't think that's the case here. And I think when Rick writes a ballad, you kind of get the ballad section, and then you get like a very, very good guitar solo at the back end of it. And you get that in this. And that over time, as the band plays it more and, they kind of work this out, and who
Gets
knows
better. Yeah.
how long this song has been around. It's just going to get better and better, and we're going to talk about that real soon when we talk about Everything Must Go, which is coming.
Yes.
Yeah. There's just there's just an inherent emotional depth to Rick's songwriting and singing. So yeah. I mean, the only question really is where's Dim Lights? I mean,
Yeah, no
Well,
shit.
I feel that Not Alone has that unmistakable, this is a Rick song. Like,
Yep.
they it's really good. This is also I had the great fortune to get to talk to Matt Campbell a bunch on Saturday night at the Cap. And he was telling me how Not Alone is actually a much older Rick song. He wrote it around 2015 or so, and has been keeping it in his back pocket.
yeah, probably wrote this
Um,
shit in like fourth grade.
Yeah, like, just casually, like, here you go. Here's a really emotionally vulnerable and beautiful song, and I'm 13 years old.
Yeah,
Crazy.
So okay, so listen, um, I feel like this is where the set kind of really kind of takes off. I think this set actually flows really well.
Yeah,
Um,
agreed.
but yeah, as we get Rosewood, Cinderman, Mountavant, I think this is a really strong ending to this show. And
Mhm.
I mean, look, I love Night One, but yeah, I mean Yeti Your Ocean, even with the Pancakes Encore. I mean, look, I'm not going to argue with anybody that that's the best way to close set two. But the fact of the matter is that Night One has so many super strong high points. The high points are just higher. So anyway, um, the Rosewood's really unique. They kind of just generally with Rosewood, you get
Two
kind
jams.
of you go about 10-11 minutes and you get the proper part of the song and then you get that first jam and then usually then you'll get a second jam after that. This one, they cut it's really just one single jam, and they right out of the the proper song, they just immediately go to where normally kind of jam two territory goes. So that was what was most interesting about this version, and it is a really cool, unique jam. And it still clocks in at 16 minutes, so it still has kind of some length to it and some substance to it. Um, Again, I mean, this one probably not for me is gonna make it on the long haul in terms of the playlist and things like that, but really cool version. I actually have been listening back on this with along with the all the other highlights from the run.
Yeah, a couple cool pieces to this one. If you're going to go back and listen to this, it is worth checking out. I think if you like Spuds and Jeff, this jam is for you.
I do.
And who doesn't?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's awesome. And then again, we're seeing Peter doing really awesome stuff with the synth. So we talked about it earlier in like the drive thing, and then here he's also doing interesting things with the synth. He's doing things with the synth that we've never really heard before, and stuff that's like taking you by surprise. And I wasn't even sure if it was the synth. I just asked Ryan, and he told me. So like I wasn't sure which instrument he was using when he did that, but check it out. I mean, this is as a huge fan of Rosewoods. This is not going down
You
in the
are?
Rosewood Hall of Fame. Yeah, my Twitter handle being kind of a riff on Rosewood, but
What is it?
it's cool. It's really cool. Yeah, that's what I have to say about that. We're not going to talk about my Twitter handle.
Yeah, this is a great Rosewood. I mean, you guys have kind of covered it. I really love, what Peter's doing in this jam, obviously, to create the texture and the fact that they completely take a left turn from what we expect and go right into this extended section.
Yeah, and then nice. I think this is a really nice segue into Cinderman too.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Shout out to Kev, who was right on the very first notes of Cinderman. I think he's a big fan. So yeah, I mean I love this cover. I think it's a really strong cover, and this is a really good version. It might be the best version they've played of the song. Really strong jam coming out of it, and this again, it's I mean this is a lot of emotion in this set, really. I mean, Not Alone, Rosewood, Cinderman, you know, there's a lot of really good Rick kind of emotive, you know, vocalizations and, you know, whatnot. So yeah, really happy to see this. I'm happy to see this, you know, in the cover rotation. I certainly would never complain about this one getting overplayed as a cover.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's one of their better covers because it does a couple things. One, it really showcases Rick's voice, and anything that showcases Rick's voice, I love. And I
Win.
think if you like Goose, you're going to love songs that showcase his voice. Like if you like Goose, you love Arabelo because I think it does exactly that. And I think that Cinderman is something that he leans into extra hard. And there are a couple of covers on this run that he does lean into extra hard. This being one of them. And yeah, it's awesome. And then while we're talking about Kev, when we talk about the
Shout out
jam
Kev.
section of this, yeah, I wish he was here so he could say it. But he summed it up in one word. He said, "Boiling."
Dubstep.
It's
Oh,
boiling, and
Boiling.
it is like the jam
He
does
does like
boil.
dubstep though. That's true.
He does love dubstep. Absolutely loves dubstep. Shout out to Kev. But no, I mean, it's funny because it is a word used in the song. However, like when you listen to this jam, it does kind of have this like rolling kind of boiling vibe to it, and it's spectacular. I mean, not much else to say about it.
yeah, and I agree. If you like Goose and Rick's vocals, you're going to love Arevalo. And if you like Arevalo and you haven't checked out Goose, then definitely do that because you would love them too.
If you're listening to this podcast and you listen to Arabelo and you don't listen to Goose, how are you listening to this podcast?
You just never know. I mean, you never know with the internet and the reach that we have. You know,
It's true. Anything's possible.
people. Yeah, somebody like from Australia tuned in, didn't they?
It's true. It's true.
I
Can
don't
we
know. I
talk
don't have
about
all
the?
the
Can we talk about this
stats.
Madhavan here?
I think you have more to say about this
Yeah,
Madhavan than anybody
yeah,
else. So why
I
don't
think-
you just
I think
go?
you want to.
Yeah.
I want to talk about this Madhavan because this Madhavan is like amazing. It's so good that I don't understand why this may be in time like a classic Ryan Storm, like he's going overboard, loving this jam again, but I
It is.
absolutely love it.
Confirmed.
Okay. All right. I love this jam.
Sorry.
It reminded me, the first segment of it reminded me a lot of the Glens Falls one from last November, which I think got kind of shafted in the Jam of the Year bracket. I think it deserved a spot in that top 64. It was in my top 64, just for the record. I'd like to give a shout out to friend of the pod, Brian Brinkman, who also had it. He had it much higher than it should have been, but he appreciated the jam. This kind of thing, the space that they get into here, very unique for Madhavan. And for me, it felt like they didn't just do what they've done in some Madhavans, where it's 2 to 3 minutes of really cool dark exploration and then 15 minutes of relatively standard Madhavan jam. They stuck with this kind of outside the box mode and vibe for a while. And we get more loose ends, second night in a row with the loose ends tease. But man, this really delivered. I wasn't expecting to get Madhavan so early in the run, especially with all the heavy hitters that have been dropped so early. Man, Neal, you and I, we had a good time during this Madhavan.
We did rage during this one.
We had a great time.
Yeah, I mean, look, it's a good Madhavan. I don't have it
Madhavan.
probably as high as you, but yeah, I do really love that. Just it's dark, but it's chill. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I really like that section. And outside of that, I think it's a when we say standard, Madhavan, I mean that's good. That's
still a
really
really
good
high
stuff.
bar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's killer song.
Madhavan we're talking about.
I mean, I think what I'll say about this Madhavan is there's a lot of space in this Madhavan, which is unique for a Madhavan. Like there's not kind of long segments of people not ripping in a Madhavan, right? And this Madhavan does have that. You think about other Madhavans that they played recently, they sound nothing like this Madhavan. So in that respect, this Madhavan's like really unique. I think, you kind of then enter the outro section of that Metavan, which gets kind of mixed up with the loose ends business, and that is the extent of this Metavan. I think that's why I'm like not crazy. I don't know. I don't want to say I'm not crazy about the Metavan. I love Metavan. I ripped it up during this Metavan. I think Brian and I cleared out like a good 6x6 space on either side of us.
We had a good
Like, we were having a really good time.
Personal bubble.
I danced really hard during this Matavan, but yeah, in retrospect, it was a weird Matavan, and I think when we were talking about it after the show, I think even in the show, I was like, that Matavan was weird, right? It's just different, and it is, and it's cool in that regard.
There we go.
Yeah.
And then we got a Turn Clouds Encore.
Yeah, Turn Clouds Encore, which not surprised. We knew we were getting this. We knew we were getting a lot of songs, but I think we especially knew this one was coming, and I probably would have placed it either as an encore or it's kind of more, penultimate set one. Yeah. So, good. All in all, I mean, again, this is a really good set too. Just I really think the flow is nice. Tumble, extra long, high energy tumble. Then you drop the new ballad. Then you got this Rosewood, has some uniqueness. Cinderman cover, a lot of uniqueness. I mean, a lot of uniqueness kind of throughout the set. I mean, none of these versions, barring Turn Clouds, are just what you would call standard, right?
Yep.
Everything has kind of a unique factor to it. So I think that's also a real nice positive. I think at the end of the day, set one probably pulls this one down below night one overall for me. And in fact, it pulls it down another night as well, but we'll get to that.
Yeah, so
I agree. Take us into night 3.
Yeah, night 3, March 10th. And I think I want to start this one off by just talking about the first 2 songs. And so start off the night with Animal, which actually that was a surprise to me. I didn't expect Animal to kind of show up as an opener in a show. I thought, maybe we're going to see Animal more towards like Saturday night when they're like trying to rage. But
yeah, that was my thought as well.
Or like later in the show, right? I think that's what people were thinking, or that's what I was thinking. It would happen. So we got that Animal right off the bat, and of course the whole place erupts. I think the energy was really high in the room. I was there, and it was great. And then kind of the big surprise was they immediately followed that Animal with a song that they've traditionally opened with, which is Flow Down. And I know it's like showed up in the 2 slot before. Ryan and I talked about that a little bit. But that one kind of caught me by surprise. And, that's a pretty cool 1-2 punch to start a show. I mean, I think those are 2 songs that get everybody dancing.
Yeah, I mean, well, so Animal, I was also surprised to see Animal this soon. So this was already its 3rd play of the year, where, this run was kind of rounding out a lot of first plays for a lot of songs that are kind of heavy rotation songs. And then second plays for some of the higher rotation songs. So Animal, and, opened in Florida, opened the Festi set in Florida, and then opened set 2 in Mexico. So really sticking to the set opener slot. But I agree with what you're saying. Interesting to have Animal Flow Down kind of start the show. And Flow Down had a pretty extended intro. Sorry if I'm saying that after you said it, but otherwise, fairly, kind of standard stuff. But I know you're really we're probably all gonna want to have a few more words about the next one.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, I think again, Animal Flow Down, solid opener. Nothing much else to say there.
Yeah, and then so like the one, I mean, this is the one I've been like itching to dig into, and I've already referenced this once when we were talking about like other songs and how they age. But Everything Must Go, I really, really enjoyed it at Goosemas, and I was like, wow, this song's really going somewhere. And then this version is spectacular. Yeah. I mean, And I don't know what what's the final minute count on this, because like if you look at Nugs, it's like right
It's over
around 11
10.
minutes.
It's around. I think it's 9 or 10 minutes or so.
Yeah, Jive,
But this
did you
was
have like
this was
a
when
minute
I
count on that,
talked
or?
to when I spoke to Matt Campbell on Saturday. He said this was the thing that, like, for the run so far, this song, out of all the ones that he's written with Rick, like, he was so happy with how Everything Must Go sounded at this show, which, is really cool because, I felt the same way. And I know we had talked about this. Like, this song sounded so good at the Cap. It just killed. I remember we were all kind of a little bit hesitant when it debuted back in October. Like, not sure whether this song is amazing. I love this song now a ton. I listened to it. I've listened to this version a couple of times now. Um, I'm a big fan. I've seen 3 out of the 5 versions now. I'm a big fan.
Yeah, I mean, I think one thing that I love about this band is that they can lean into a ballad and make it a highlight of a show. And I think that's what happens here with this song. Like, is it something that we're talking about, like, in terms of, like, is it a jam of the year? No, it's absolutely not. But, like, does it have
Great
re-listen
performance.
value? Absolutely. Like, this is
Mhm.
killer. It is a killer ballad. It has an amazing segment at the end. Again, like what we were talking about earlier, like, you have this ballad and then there's this beautiful emotional segment on the end that just sounds so good. And, Rick kind of leaning into that kind of soloing is wonderful. And the more songs they write like this, the better. And this is evidence that when a song gets an opportunity to age and they lean into it a little bit, it just gets better and better and better.
Yeah, no, I'm right there with you. It's grown on me so much, and in fact, I feel kind of bad for myself because at Goosemas we had when we got the version there, it was it was night one of Goosemas. I was so fired up, and we got the flow down opener, Everything Must Go, and then we had rum and boat after that even. But at the time, I think I was so fired up, and what I mean. I was just it's
Yeah,
Goosemas night one. I was
in the suite.
yeah, I was living this sweet life, and I feel like I didn't enjoy it as much as I should have, and that's on me. But yeah,
Shame. You should be
this song
ashamed.
is yeah this song is totally. I'll own my mistakes. You know what I mean? Um, yeah, this song has grown on me a lot, and yeah, I'm right there with you. I really love it now, and yeah, it is such a good strong jam. I mean, yeah, yeah. I'll always be happy to hear this from now on. Goosemas, New Year's Eve, anything. I'll never not get out of my seat and love every moment of this song again. I promise.
Yeah, I mean, it has an arc to it, right? Like, I mean,
Mhm.
it's yeah. I don't want to compare them to other bands. I was going to do that, but I'm not going to.
No,
Yeah, it's so
it's a
like
great song. It's an amazing song.
yeah. I mean, yeah, it is what it is. So yeah, further on in the set, we get the Whales next. Um,
And
some
Turbulence.
folks around me were like beside themselves excited about the Whales here in the
I didn't
slot.
notice that.
Yeah, there's a couple people, and then after that we got Turbulence, and
Always a win.
I mean to me, I mean we've said it again and again, and like I'm just gonna say the same things I've always said about Turbulence. I love it anywhere in a set,
Yeah.
and it has such an amazing natural peak to it built into the song. I think it gets everybody involved. Yeah, it's just great.
Yeah, it's such a good song. I mean, got nothing else to say about it. We've talked about Turbulence at length on the podcast previously.
Yeah,
It's so good. Let's talk about this new
yeah.
tune.
Well, yeah. Let me lead us into lead up,
Yeah,
which is
nice.
like, yeah. I
How
mean, like,
many times we worry about
yeah.
Oh
I
yeah.
mean, holy smokes,
Settle
man! This
down
one is
now.
it's so
hanging
good.
on to this?
Gonna
I
need us.
I mean, I'm actually gonna back away and let you guys sing it out. If you want to harmonize too, like, just do it. Uh, this probably is. Well, I don't know if it is my favorite of the new ones, but like,
It's hard to pick because all 3 are so good.
Yeah. This one I think is better than the previous days.
Mhm.
And
I
again,
was
like
saying
we
not
keep talking
alone.
about these. Like I don't know if I want to. This is not a ballad, but it's somewhere in the neighborhood of that.
It's more of an
And
indie. I kind of thought this was
Yeah,
more of
yeah,
kind
I
of
think that's
I
right.
mean, I said to
I think
you
my read
as
is
they were
wrong on that.
playing it. I said to you as they were playing it, Neil. I kind of got like a Red Hot Chili Peppers vibe from this
Yes.
song.
Yeah, I
Um,
don't agree with that take at all. But
okay.
what I will
Well,
say, what I will say,
you were not happy about the comparison at the
no,
show. I'll
no.
tell you
I mean, I
that.
think it's important that we actually underscore that on the podcast.
yeah.
And um, one thing that I did really love about this that I actually wanted to say before I pass it off is Two Guitar Goose, which we kind of talked about on the day after show. And this is Two Guitar Goose in like kind of a, I don't know, like a regular song, if that's like a thing that you can say. And the harmonizing with Peter and Rick was really, really good in this. And if we get more songs
Yeah.
like that, like this is like a real, I don't know, not a jam band song. This is I think I like what you're saying. Like this is an indie song. Maybe that's kind of the way I should describe it. But in the moment, that's what I loved. Definitely did not love the Chili Peppers comparison. If only for my own biases, because I don't really like the Chili Peppers. But don't tell Peter. Don't tell Peter that I don't like the Chili Peppers. But yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I love this. You know, this song has been stuck in my head for all of today, pretty much. Since I started listening to it, like I think I've listened to it 3 times today, but it's been stuck in my head. The chorus, at least. This is also notably a very rare Peter on guitar new debut. The last two Peter on guitar songs that have been debuted by Goose have been Butterflies, which was last June, and The Whales, which was debuted during Bingo Tour. So the vast majority of the songs they've debuted in the last 3 years have been Peter on keys tunes. So that's just something interesting to look at. At the time, I was thinking to myself, like, oh, Peter's on guitar. There haven't been a ton of those recently, but I don't think I understood oh wow, like there have not been there hasn't been a brand new song. Like Butterflies had been written for Great Blue and performed with Great Blue before Goose, and The Whales was a new. It had never been played by anyone before when it was debuted by Goose. So this is the first, debut of a song not from a side project with Peter on guitar since June 2020, which was a pretty cool statistic.
Yeah. I mean, look, I like New Goose. So I'm a fan. Looking forward to letting all three of these new songs sink in a little bit more. The thing that's interesting that I'm thinking about right now is that, I we still have set two to talk about, and we're not done with set one yet. But that I probably had this night the lowest of the five, and it's a great run. So I mean, that just means it was the least best, right? Um, but this set one, while there's a lack of jams really of any kind, I really like a lot of these. I like a lot of the songs. Especially Everything Must Go, Turbulence, the new song, and then Thatch to close it out. I mean, it's there's some re-listen value here for me just because I like almost all of these songs in this set. So, but yeah, I'd probably be wondering where the jams are. I don't know.
Yep, same. And like I think Ryan, if you have something to add about Thatch, like I think the only thing I have to add is like Thatch fucks, and
That's
It's
this
fucks.
awesome.
version
Yeah.
like fucked
This is
more
the
than
best version. This is the
yeah,
best version yet.
it
15
fucked more
minutes.
than any
They just
version of
go
Thatch. Yeah,
in.
yeah,
Shout out to
killer.
Jebri, our boy Jebri, who absolutely he put it all out there during this Thatch.
Yeah, killer.
If you watch it, there are some clips on the webcast when they pan over to him, and he's just like laying into his drums. I forgot to actually make note of all the cymbal casualties that happened over the course of the cap run for note on this podcast. But shout out to Jabri and hitting his cymbals hard enough to knock them off the rack, the mount. I don't know what you call it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't know.
I don't know what
You're
the
a keyboard
technical
player.
drumming term is.
Yeah, he
Yeah,
goes
But
I mean,
hard. I think he goes hard.
Yeah, he
Jeopardy
went
goes
extra
hard.
hard.
He did. That's
All right,
fucks.
so let's.
That's it.
Yeah, I mean, like, what else can we say? Thatch fucks. I don't think there's any way to
Fucking
dissect
love
Thatch other
Thatch.
than to say that, and this one fucked harder than any version yet. So, okay,
Thatch.
set two. There are a
Yeah.
lot of tasty bits in this set, and there's something I'm really excited to talk about in this set.
Is it the encore?
Uh,
No, hot tea.
no, actually, I think yeah. I don't think
It's
we're going to talk much about that encore at all.
but
But
anyway.
so yes, so starts with creatures, and this is a very very good creatures. And if you're the kind of person, I don't know, like, is it very good? I mean, it's good. It's good.
It's good.
If you like Legend Valley creatures, you love this creatures because it sounds
Or if you
awful
like
similar.
Legend Valley creatures, you're really upset about the comparisons to this creatures because maybe you're realizing that the Legend Valley creatures is not all that you thought it was last year.
That's harsh. But Jai, what do you got?
You don't disagree.
Listen, so I've given this some deep listening, and because again, this is one where it's like, okay, I got to make sure. I mean, a lot of people love every creatures, and then people start saying Legend Valley creatures, and I'm like, no, no, it's not. It's nowhere near Legend Valley creatures. First of all, right? So
All right.
so this is a pretty. Here, I'll give my quick breakdown on this. Okay, so we got what, about 20 minutes on this creatures. So first 10 minutes, just standard proper creatures, right? And then the next 7 minutes is, I mean, a pretty average, creatures jam. There wasn't anything incredible there for me.
What's the
The
difference
last
between standard creatures and average creatures?
is about they're about the same.
Oh, okay. So what you're saying is the first 17 minutes is standard average creatures.
Yeah. Well, but the first 10 minutes is standard, meaning that's what you get every time.
Oh, okay.
There's no deviating from the proper part of the song, really, right? And then that kind of middle part of the gym, I mean, it's a little bit extended. It's good stuff. It's fun to dance to, and everybody's having a good time. But then that last 3 minutes, I mean, we can't be comparing that to Legend Valley. It's got some cool Star Wars stuff from Peter, and I think Trevor even hints at the Star Wars theme as well.
Quick shout out to Matt for Math for catching that tease a day or two after the show.
Yeah, you can really hear it from Peter. It stands out. And on re-listen, I hear it a little bit from Trevor as well. And so that it's a really nice, soft, outro jam of about 3 minutes. But I mean, it's a Star Wars theme thrown in there, and I just don't think this is anywhere near Legend Valley creatures.
I quite enjoyed this jam. Really mellow, really nice, really beautiful. I maybe my Legend Valley comparison is a bit much. But gotta stir the pot
comparison
sometimes.
It is not ridiculous. They're just not on the same level. I think that's fair. I'm the one who brought it up in the first place. Like, there is a reason why we bring up Legend Valley creatures when we talk about this creatures, and like Jeff said, not the same. And then after this, we get an incredibly short Redbird that is actually pretty good.
I thought it was way longer than this. I was so surprised when I was like,
what
wait,
I thought
12
in the moment
minutes?
as well. Yeah, Jive, what did you think, like, from the couch about this one?
Yeah, I mean, this one's one of those. Redbird's another one of those songs where it just, and there's a lot of songs like this that would probably fall into this bucket, but 12 minutes often surprises you when you look back, because that means we had a good 7 minutes of jamming. I don't know how much I would use the word improv on this, but a lot of times that is, and especially if you're there, you often look back and think, oh well, that felt a lot longer than 12 minutes. But that's right in that sweet spot, I think, of having those feelings. You know what I mean? If it goes 15 minutes, then it's more like, oh, it felt long. You look back, oh, it was 15 minutes. Okay, cool. Yeah, so it was kind of long. when you get into some of these, you see it with Pancakes, and um, you see it especially with other songs that have kind of shorter, kind of proper song pieces of 5, 6, 7 minutes. Then you go 12 minutes, and it feels like you got a jam, But yeah, on re-listen, it wasn't quite as long as maybe you thought it was. So, yeah, so I guess I was probably right there with you.
Yeah. So okay. So this is the part of the night where like I think we were all really noticing that Jimmy Fallon was kind of sitting up in a balcony seat.
It was really
And
at set break. There was
yeah,
a
well there
whole
was
like
the set break
everybody
thing.
cheering, and he was all like, "Ah."
He was egging people on and stuff. Yeah, for sure. But so then they played In Your Eyes, and this In Your Eyes to me is special for a couple of reasons. One, this is Goose executing a cover really well. And we've talked about this a bunch. Like, I think people would pay good money to just go see a band, go out there and execute songs perfectly. And like, I don't know if this is perfect, but like, it's worthy of just like going and seeing them play In Your Eyes. And Rick, I think,
Hearing
leaned
Rick
in.
sing In Your Eyes.
Well,
Yeah.
right. And that's what I was getting at, which is like, Rick really leaned extra hard into singing this. I think it doesn't necessarily translate to tape, but when I was there, I was like, oh my God, like he's really, really singing the hell out of this. And then, of course, there's the jam that comes after, which, I'll let you guys talk about that jam, but this is one of the better jams of this whole entire run in my opinion.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's the jam of the night for
Yeah.
100%.
without question. And yeah, I just love. I mean, look, Neal and I are a little bit older than Ryan, and
A
so
little bit.
we saw the movie, when it was still pretty fresh, and so
Which
yeah, there's a
movie?
lot of. There's a movie called Say Anything, and there was a whole
Okay, yeah, I haven't seen it.
it's a whole thing about '80s movies, and John Cusack is amazing, and but anyway,
80s.
it's it's such a great song, and I feel like this is just one of those covers that it's like everybody knows it and everybody likes it. You know what I mean? Nobody who doesn't like In Your Eyes. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Everybody likes this song, and it's a great it's a fantastic song. And like you said, Neal, I mean they really do it justice. They don't mess with it. You know what I mean? They play it the way that it was meant to be played, and
And then they jam it for a while.
Rick crushes the vocals, and then this particular version, they absolutely take out into a stellar jam. I mean, this is a really good jam. This jam is probably better than anything from the previous night, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is a really, really, really good jam, and yeah, it might stick around for a little while. I'll be listening to this one because yeah, this is one where I always like to listen to In Your Eyes. So it's kind of like Way It Is from Eau Claire. You know what I mean? Like that
Yeah.
jam is so incredible, but I love listening to The Way It Is every time I throw that on, and that's kind of what I think about this. This is an incredible jam that I'm gonna want to listen to probably many, many times, and I'm never gonna fast forward through the song.
So let me ask you this: as a resident of Colorado, um, this In Your Eyes from the Capitol Theater,
Yes, this one.
or In Your Eyes from Sculpture Park?
This one.
This is the one. Okay.
You
This
heard
is
it here, folks.
I
Your
haven't done the
attendance
AB,
bias from
so
Sculpture Park
yeah,
should
I haven't done the AB either, but
and
just
can
on
be.
memory,
Yeah.
yeah,
I think it's easily this one.
It's possible
yeah.
to overcome your attendance bias, Colorado people.
Like I think the one last thing I want to say about this is a really hard song to sing. So like jam
Yeah.
bands historically will like pick up a song like this, which I think it has a lot of nostalgic value to people, and absolutely fuck it up. And it's like not what Goose does when they sing this one. But Ryan, anything else to add about In Your Eyes before I jump into the thing I'm really stoked to talk about? Or
I know you're really, really excited to talk about this. I just want to, agree. This In Your Eyes is amazing. Jam of the night. Best jam since, March 8th. Really happy to hear the song as well. I know it's one of my favorite covers that Goose does. There's still a lot of covers that I'm chasing, but this was one that I was really hoping to hear at some point. Kind of had fallen off my radar and was excited to hear it. So stoked about it.
Right on. All right, so here we go. Arise. I have
Zip
been
it.
waiting for this song
Oh man,
forever. So
sorry, before you go into it, I just want to say nobody in the room was happier than Neal when they went into this.
I appreciate you saying
Nobody.
that, actually. Because
Nobody.
I think that's true. I think that's true. I think at any given moment, nobody is happier in the room than Peter about anything. But I
It's
think I
true.
actually exceeded his happiness in this one. So this is one of two Goose originals I had yet to hear. And well, actually, I don't know if you want to call it Goose originals, but like original songs that Goose plays, right?
It's an
So
original song. It's written by a member of the
well,
band,
yeah,
whether
and
it was debuted by Arabelo or Goose. It's a Goose song.
yeah. The other one being Angborg, which I've not heard, which we'll talk about later. But that is not a Goose original. So, man, this song is incredible, and this version is amazing. And we can talk about Rick singing all day long, and like I can listen to Rick sing "Arise" till I die because it's just so fucking beautiful. But the guitar solo that comes at the end of this is incredible. It's so good, and like I can go back and listen to this like a million times, and I will. And I think this kind of has, yeah. I mean, we've talked about re-listen value a bunch, and this is just killer, absolutely killer. And I was so happy to hear it. Ryan, you kind of talked about how happy I was. I think I was just like staring at the ceiling with a giant grin on my face, and like couldn't even dance. But yeah, absolutely awesome.
And I only had to shush 2 people during this song.
Oh man,
I
me too.
appreciate Jeb for putting the obligatory zip it before this song, not only to remind people to zip it, but also as a nice inside joke for those in the know about the Arabelo zip it that made it onto the vinyl that people will be getting
The
eventually.
OG version.
The OG Arise. But man, I was really happy to hear it. I love this
Yeah,
song.
I mean, the zip it I thought was a gutsy move after you belted out Redbird at like insane volume, but I mean,
Thank
you
you.
did it. You did it, and nobody
Well,
like
there's a difference
revolted.
between belting out the straight burden part of Redbird and talking during Arise.
Were you
Yeah,
guys
that's fair.
together? Did you guys straight bird together or?
We did. We didn't
We
get a
did.
video this time. I decided to be
That's
courteous
okay.
to those
Yeah,
around us, and I just, we did a selfie
yeah,
instead of
that
a
was it.
video. But we straight birded together.
We'll do it the next time, maybe in Philly. So
Maybe in Philly.
Yeah, I don't really have anything to add there, but yeah, I mean, I think that other than just saying that, real quick, I think that since they debuted Arise with the full band, it obviously hasn't been played that many times, and so yeah, I think they're probably just trying to work it out maybe a little bit. I feel like when they first debuted it at the beginning of last year, it felt like it wasn't, which is odd for these guys, but that was one that felt like maybe it wasn't quite, just wasn't quite there. The song is amazing, so it's nice to see that they're getting it to that place where, yeah, you can drop it in the start of the fourth quarter, and with confidence, as a confident ballad at that part of the show. So yeah, super happy, and really hope that it doesn't stay away as long as it kind of has tended to over the last year or so.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
Pod gets results. Let's play it more. Yeah, and then we get hot tea to close the show. I don't think there's much to say
Friday
about
night
this hot tea.
banger.
Get a little bit of Trevor doing the Trevor
Yeah.
thing, which we've already talked about a bunch.
A little bit of
And
funk, a little bit of fun.
yeah,
Solid.
yeah,
Nice tea.
and like I don't think there's much to dig into there. And then of course, we can't talk about the show without talking about Mustang Sally briefly, which Jimmy Fallon came out and did the Jimmy Fallon thing. I think the one thing I will say about this encore, which is like really funny, somebody on Twitter said, somebody close to the band said, what if Cocaine Bear sat in with Goose? And I was like, That was last night. And that was the day
Yeah.
after the show.
Zing.
That was outrageous. Jimmy Fallon was absolutely out of his mind. And yeah, it was fun.
Did he fall on
Cool stage
purpose,
dive.
or did he?
I've received word that it was on purpose, but Rick's reaction is still really funny because I don't know if Rick knew that he was going to do that. So, if you haven't seen the picture of Rick's reaction to Fallon being on the floor, it's well worth your time to seek that out.
I mean, from where I was sitting, it looked like he did it on purpose, but I don't know.
I didn't even
Talk about
notice
night
him
4.
do that.
Unless you guys have things to add about like this incendiary version of Mustang Sally.
All right, moving into night 4 of the run. Before we get into the show itself, I want to give a shout out to the wonderful people at the Fox G1 Research Foundation, including Nikki, who was a guest on our day after show for the Saturday and Sunday nights. If you want to hear more about Fox G1 and what they're doing to support Nikki's daughter, who has a very rare disease, please go check out that episode of Day After Show talking about 311 and 312. She goes into lots of detail talking about it, talks about the amazing benefit that the band put on for them in the afternoon. They got to sit in on a few songs as kind of a sound check kind of thing. But it was a very, very nice event and just further proves how awesome Goose and their team is.
Yeah, and there's a kind of a cool YouTube recap video of that as well, which I watched the other day, and yeah, so check that out too. Yeah, great job by everybody involved in that. That was a really cool thing to do.
Mm-hmm. Now on to the show. Pretty amazing way to open this show. We get Echo of a Rose, Hollywood Nights, Bob Don, Echo of a Rose. I think this whole segment goes together. I listened to it straight through today. Absolutely killer stuff. This Echo Hollywood Nights packs a lot of improv into not a lot amount of time, relatively speaking. And, it made me think of, if we allowed segues in the bracket, like this would probably make it. But, we don't allow segues in the bracket, and we're not going to start now. So, sorry, Echo Hollywood Nights lovers. But, wow, I love this, seeing Hollywood Nights in regular rotation in this kind of slot coming out of a jam, kind of a high energy boost. Crowd goes nuts every time Rick sings that first line. Killer. And Bob Don with. And back, and the way they weave it back into Echo, amazing.
Yeah, man, if you're going to do setlist trickery here, this is the way to do it, right? Like just to sneak that Echo right back in. Echo, always good. Hollywood Nights, awesome. Surprised to see it again so soon. It's like a thing that just keeps popping up.
I'm happy about it.
And yeah, I mean, they apparently love the song, and like, I mean, they do a great job of it. So, like, I'm not complaining. And then, of course, Bob Don with nobody's ever going to complain about. And eventually, like, the whole world will understand what Bob Don with is. Like one person at a time. AAT Pod is convincing people like what Bob Don with is, because I don't think everybody knows, because it's I think we manufactured, but it's worth mentioning. It's worth mentioning. It's special.
What is
all Bob
Don
Dons should be with
Neal?
Well, hopefully the width becomes so frequent that then there's no confusion, because then it's just Bob Don.
Right. That's where I was going with that. Which is like then you just hear like Bob Don without, and you're just like, what the fuck? Like we just like miss out on this amazing.
This is ridiculous. Where's my extra jam?
I mean, I like Hollywood Nights.
I think as someone as the only one of the three of us here who has yet to see Hollywood Nights live, I feel like there's a different level to the song once you've seen them live, once you've felt the energy in the room.
I didn't like it as a set 2 closer on the New Year's run.
Mm-hmm. Especially with the encore.
But that was my own hang up. I have to work that out. But yeah, I do like the song. It is, it's one of those songs where I have a lot of memories from my classic rock, high school days.
Back when it wasn't classic and it was just called rock.
Yeah. When it was called classic rock, where, from my time even.
What, classic from like a couple of years earlier?
but yeah, no, this is. But hey, look, this is a good one. We don't want to get into Steve Miller Band and that kind of stuff,
We've
but
done that. We've already
no,
been there. Yeah.
yeah. So yeah, no, this is nothing else to add. Really nice, unique, strong start to the show. We've never seen this group of songs like this before. So yeah, it was pretty cool.
Yeah. And as I mentioned earlier, I mean, the energy of the crowd seemed to peak on Saturday and Sunday night, which was crazy. For nights 4 and 5 of the run, especially with a large chunk of people doing all 5. And yeah, during this set, it was amazing. Seekers on the Ridge next. This was when, as soon as part 1 started, I was off to, bathroom. I ran into our good friends, the Vibes guy, Mr. Haps, going to the bathroom. We had a good laugh, about my well-known affinity for taking a bathroom break during Seekers Part 1. This was my first time seeing Seekers Part 1 with Goose. I saw it with Array Below in December. This was the first time I got to exercise my, I don't know, my love for going to the bathroom during Seekers Part 1 and being back for Part 2 and absolutely raging it, as one does, because Seekers Part 2 supremacy.
Hey, this
Yeah,
is where we always say it should be played.
Yeah, I was going to say the pod loves a set
Perfect
Seekers,
placement.
So, yep.
Perfect placement. And then set closes with Mr. Action and Same Old Shenanigans. Mr. Action continuing to settle into the catalog. I like it in this late set 1 slot as well. Great song. Shout out to the Goose crew. Obviously, while we're talking about Mr. Action, they're killing it. And SOS kills.
Yeah, love Mr. Action. I think the funny thing is this song's starting to set in. I'm one of those guys who doesn't initially listen to lyrics, which is probably like why I dove in so hard with Fish when I got into Fish. Yeah, man, the more and more I listen to the song, the more and more I like it. It's a really really cool song, and I think it's a really nice gesture to somebody. Maybe it's everybody on the crew that kind of does what they do behind the scenes for this band. But yeah, killer song. And then much like Thatch, which we just talked about, always fucks. And it like SOS kills, just absolutely kills as a set 1 closer. Probably my favorite set 1 closer. So
My only question at this point is, when are we going to get the full trilogy of Dr. Darkness, Mr. Action, and then the unknown third song in the trilogy?
So I asked Matt Campbell about this on Saturday, at the Cap, and he said it's a coincidental connection between the 2 songs. There's no intentional story being told with Dr. Darkness and Mr. Action.
Yeah, that's what he wants you to think.
That
I was
exactly.
say,
So
bullshit.
He could
I
be
don't
wrong.
believe him.
Yeah, he's not going to tell you. You know what I mean?
Hey, whoa! I resent that. I'm inclined to trust Matt Campbell because he's a very nice guy.
You're going to tell everybody.
Really
I think that's
songs.
his point, Ryan. Is
okay.
So
all right, you know what? But blow up my spot here. Fine. Let's
hey,
we can talk about set 2. Let's talk about this hunger set.
This is a hot set, so let's talk about set 2.
This is a really hot set. This is a really hot hunger site. I feel like, it was great before, but every time since Trey, that moment when Rick rips into that first guitar solo on Hunger Site, the crowd just goes nuts. Doesn't matter what's happening at that moment, who's on stage, who's not on stage, whatever. When Rick hits that first note of the solo, people are going crazy. It's awesome. Hunger Site is just such a good song, and this jam is amazing. They rip through the regular portion and they get into like a grimy, funky kind of thing. This is one of the best versions of Hunger Site they've played to date, I believe.
Yeah, it's no Philly. It's no Philly.
It's no Philly night.
I was just gonna say that too.
There he is.
But, thank you for stepping in and saying.
So
that.
listen.
Go ahead.
So I gotta also mention, I did not watch Friday Night or Saturday Night Live, and that was probably that might be the first time I've gone 2 shows in a row that have been streamed where I wasn't able to tune in or didn't tune in. Actually, I did watch part of the first set of Friday Night.
All right.
But yeah, the local Salida High School team was in the Final Four of the state basketball tournament, and
You
so
can't not mention it.
so I was tuned in. So the boys had a historic year. They made it. They made it all the way to the final, and had they won the final, it would have been their first state championship since like 1964. But unfortunately, they came up against a juggernaut in the final.
Who was the juggernaut?
The team that beat them, this was their 7th state title in the last
Whoa.
15 years. So yeah,
Oh.
I mean, who knows what's happening at that school? They're probably paying these kids. I don't know what's going on.
PDs.
We,
It's
yeah,
definitely
we,
PDs.
yeah. They're a Denver school. We came down from the mountains and gave it a go, and I'm really proud of the boys. So I just wanted to give a shout out. And
Hey, if
but
any
yeah.
of those Salida boys are listening to this podcast and you're 2 hours into this podcast, you now feel very happy because you've gotten your Jive Goose shout out.
Yeah,
There you go.
good kids.
Is Jive Junior on the team, or are you just out showing your town spirit?
No, but some of the high school kids referee my boys' teams games. So that was kind of cool. So I would get to see them a lot of times after some of the earlier playoff games. So I'd get to give them a little fist bump, and
Do they know about your widely successful Goose podcast?
They don't know about anything, probably as it pertains to.
They're probably just like sizing Jive up, who like is a tall man. And they were like,
he is. Who's this guy with
that guy's kid? Like he's gonna play for us someday. I don't know.
Yeah,
We'll see.
yeah. But yeah, anyway, so like I said, no Philly Night 2 here, but a strong version nonetheless.
Amazing.
Sorry, Neal. Just to circle you back, we're talking about the Hunger Site here. That's
yeah, we are talking about
Hunger
Hunger Site. Are we
not the Salida?
I thought we were talking about like Salida basketball, which like I'm into, man. Like high school basketball. That was my thing.
This isn't. Unfortunately, this isn't a Salida basketball podcast.
Yeah, this Hunger Site's dope. I think that's all I have to say. Let's talk about the rest of the set.
Yeah. So I mean, Silver Rising. This song is amazing.
Taste the blood.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not.
You got one line. You got one line.
I can't do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Love the Silver Rising. Taste the blood, feel the rush. Come on.
Yeah.
What's that third line there that you're saying?
Look. It's
Run, my love, it's the only. Run, my love, it's the only. Anyway, then we get the debut of new Peter song, Feel It Now.
Boom.
Huge fan
Dope.
of this. Huge.
Yeah.
So
huge
fucking dope.
fan.
Yes.
Really great. One thing about this song is you have a great, it's very Peter, but you have really great like Rick guitar lines. Now, I don't know if Peter wrote those or Peter brought these to the band and Rick came up with these lines, but man, the way they're all contributing to this song, so good. There's a lot of potential in here. It's a great tune. The things are happening with Feel It Now. I feel it now.
Yeah. I felt it then.
Yeah.
I feel it now.
I felt it immediately.
Yeah. I think we all did.
I mean, I think the one thing I'll say about this one that you didn't say already is Jeb's lead in there. We get a full percussion lead in to this.
Jeb?
Yeah,
Jebri?
he's playing the bongos because that's all that he has. They're all bongos.
They're
Gong
all
gang?
bongos.
Yeah, they're all bongos.
Shout out Jebri.
But no, killer song. I mean, I think people have like online dissected the hell out of the song and saying like it has an 80s vibe, it has like this vibe, it has that vibe. I think it
has a great
killer song.
vibe. Yeah.
Yeah, it's great. And I don't know if I can actually like, kind of pin like an in era on this, but it's good. And I can't wait to hear more versions of this song. Again, these new songs, they just get better and better and better. And like this one, let's see where it goes.
Yeah,
Awesome.
yeah. Maybe. I mean, I think this is easily my favorite of the three new songs,
Yep.
and yeah, super excited to see, you know, more versions of this, and maybe some jams.
See how it develops.
Yeah, it's just such a it's got such a awesome built-in groove to it. You know what I mean? Like,
Mhm.
um, yeah, yeah, we're looking forward to it.
There we go. Let's talk about this Arcadia.
Yeah,
This is a great Arcadia, above average. There's been discussion about whether it's the best Arcadia since the Mission, really, in 2021. I would maybe put. I think the only version from last year that I would maybe put above this is Fairfax. I know, Brian, you probably have Nashville and maybe another
Nashville.
one over this one, but I this is a really strong Arcadia.
This is
I
good.
just recently reported in today a nice little writing a novel tease thrown in the middle there from Rick and Peter. Great catch
Ooh, yeah.
from someone on Twitter. Appreciate the tease submission always, especially when it's actually there. This is a
Jam of the
really
night.
strong Arcadia. Jam of the night. I'd put Hunger Sight above this personally. I'm a big fan of, though, in Arcadia, the way that, we talked about this on the day after, but the fact that they incorporate the slow into the fast ending and the way that they'll hit the peak in the jam and then kind of like slam down into the slow ending and then build it back up for a
I,
second time.
this one's all about the Trevor led kind of
Bass
bass
solo.
led jam
Trevor bass.
at the beginning. Just really sets a really cool tone for this jam. Yeah, I think this is a really strong version. I have no problems with this. It's on my re-listen list for now for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I mean, all Arcadias are good. This is good
Yeah,
Arcadia. Um, you know, again, it sounds redundant, but Trevor's confidence in this run is shown again in
Ridiculous.
this jam. Like, I mean, he is taking a solo in that, like, and doing an incredible job. And I mean, there's a lot of little pieces to this jam that are really, really exciting. I think this jam does dance around loose ends. Like, I feel like it's almost there in a couple spots. Like, maybe I'm wrong, but that's what I hear when I listen to it. But yeah, very good Arcadia, and I don't know, maybe Arcadia's back after taking a back seat for a whole year. After 2021 having amazing versions, like we're gonna get more amazing versions of Arcadia. Time will tell.
And the set closes with a beautiful 726. I mean, I love this song. I just now looked at .net and I've seen the last 3 versions of this song, which is very interesting. This breaks a 21 show gap for 726, which this and This Old Sea I feel like are being very underutilized lately. They're incredible songs. I mean, 726, it just gets me. I love this song. It's very emotional, soaring kind of thing, but I like it in this set closer spot personally.
yeah, yeah. I mean, I love a
726.
little 726. Yeah, yeah. Why
Who
not?
doesn't?
I mean, you know, if you're gonna drop your ocean, to close sets, then why not 726? I mean, I'd probably actually prefer 726 as a. I
Yeah.
think it's probably a little bit stronger in the closer or encore position than your ocean, but yeah, they like to do that. I mean, they like to drop that strong ballad in that spot. So yeah, I got no problems with it, especially after a nice set like that. Not the longest of set twos, and we got a lengthy encore, so maybe that probably plays into that. But
Hmm.
um, but yeah, I mean, coming out of that big Arcadia, yeah, I think pulling the 726 there is nice.
Yeah. And then a absolutely raging Dripfield encore, as Dripfield does, coming in here, killing it, getting them out.
Yeah, man. I
Dripfield.
mean, Dripfield can do a bunch of different things. And this Dripfield does what I think like a regular Dripfield does. Like, I don't think there's anything to write home about this Dripfield. This is one of those things where like you kind of had to be there, kind of Dripfield.
Hmm.
And I don't see myself going back to listen to this one a bunch, but like, yeah, I mean, in the encore slot, like I don't think you can get a better song. Like, I mean,
Yeah,
that's
it's like
fantastic.
the pancakes from night one. You know what I mean? It's like,
Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Like,
it's just
and
great.
love the fact that they're like going hard on encores in this whole 5 night run, right?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
the Turn Clouds encore was like pretty standard encore. Like, I think that one was like, oh yeah, well, like when it happened, we were like, oh, it's Turn Clouds. But like Pancakes encore, this encore, pretty
Mustang
awesome. Like,
Sally.
well, yeah, and then there's that. I mean, everyone's
Totally
looking
different
forward to.
category.
Yeah, I mean, like that's a different thing, and like we talked about it, like in the moment, like I was there for that show, and that was really fun. I did have a really good time. I think if you're listening
Yeah,
to that on Nugs, that's an auto skip. But
I don't
hey,
think I'm
listen,
yeah,
gonna listen to
yeah,
it.
yeah. Well, but hey,
yeah,
listen, you
forget.
know,
I
not
was
to go back
there. It
and
happened,
not to go back and revisit that show, but
but you're gonna
that
anyway.
but that yeah, just real quick on the Fallon thing. Yeah, I mean, look, I think there were a lot of dissenting opinions online, and at the end of the day, some shit is just fun and funny, and you do it in the moment because there's entertainment value to it and whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It doesn't always matter if it's
Well,
you
and
know if
also it happening in the encore is very different than them dropping it in the middle of the second set,
yeah.
right? So it happened.
All right, let's bring this home.
We got one left,
Night five at the Cap.
the one that Neal should have stayed for.
Well, yeah,
Yeah, well,
maybe,
you can't
maybe.
see them all, man.
Shout out to the obviously. But before we talk about this Goose show, I just want to shout out RJ and Tom from Osiris who put on this amazing Arabelo event on Sunday afternoon. Neal and I were both lucky enough to be there. If you have not listened to the recording from that, it is available via The Drop. The
I heard the pod
Osiris
got a
podcast.
shout out.
We did get a shout out. It was very nice. Nice to see Rick, Peter, and Jeff all give us a smile. And nice shout out from RJ and Tom, which was very cool. Very proud to be part of the Osiris family.
Yeah,
But it was great. Neal, myself, and Megan from HF Pod. We had a fun time turning on the video camera at the beginning of the beginning of the
Very
event.
notable experience.
How many?
Very
So
high-stress
here's a
experience.
question for all of you out there: how many podcast hosts does it take to turn on a video camera? That is the question. But this was a
The
great
answer
event.
is 3 is not enough.
Yeah.
3 is not enough.
But we did it. We figured it out.
It did happen in the end. Yeah, it did.
It happened. But shout out to RJ and Tom, and of course Rick, Peter, and Jeff for an amazing event. The recording is available via The Drop. Go give it a listen. They performed 6 songs. They talked about lots of stuff. It was great.
yeah.
Now,
second time they've done that too. By the way,
yes.
just for anybody who doesn't know that.
And
So
they
yeah,
joked that the next one will be in 2026.
okay, cool. I was wondering if we might get that again. So cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe we'll be able to get involved. At some point there, that'd be nice. You know what I mean? Got the shout out this time. Weren't
It's
in
on
existence
stage
for the
next
first
time.
one, so I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know. We'll see.
Hey,
Logical
man,
progression.
like we can only go up from Tom Marshall's stand-up routine. So like,
It's true.
Like
That
they might
didn't
be
even
looking
make
for
it into
bodies.
that didn't even make it into the recording. That's the thing.
Yeah, I mean, it was something else. I'll tell you.
You had to be there. But anyway,
did.
let's talk about this Sunday night show, Brian.
Yeah, so pretty nice set one here with some big
Yeah.
jams and just some lengthy tracks. So flea opener, and then just to kind of run through it real quick, we got the Indian River. I'm glad we don't call this Indian River with, by the way, but
Yeah.
we had the Indian River with the Delta-ish jam, and got the honeybee, got the Jeff Angborg. A couple of songs right there that I think a lot of people were looking for.
What, Honeybee?
The It Burns Within, one of the longest, kind of one of the bigger bust outs.
75 shows.
Yeah, lots of shows between the last time they played that one and this show, and then a big butter rum
Big.
closing the set out as it does. And so yeah, this flea opener is really good. I kind of want to go back to this jam a few more times, but this is a robust flea, kind of a big heavy jam.
Good adjective.
This is really good. This Flea is very, very, very good, and I need to go back and listen to it some more. But like, I don't know. I think this one kind of bears listening to some more, and like maybe it does like end up on my playlist. I don't know. It's got a lot of like screaming Rick guitar soloing, and then a couple like pretty unique segments in it that I really enjoyed. So yeah, like psyched to go back and listen to this one more. I don't think I've really given it enough, but as far as fleas go, like that's a pretty great way to start a show.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it was. I mean, again, as I said, the energy just seemed to grow with each night, and so by the time Sunday happened, the place was going nuts during the flea, and the Indian River and the Delta Jam. Like this also seemed to be a better use of a 15, 16, however long the Delta Jam ended up being with the song. It felt like a better use of the time than a lot of the versions we've seen in the past. They went straight for a hard peak here, and they achieved it. The crowd loved it. I loved it. I was having a great time.
Were you stoked for
Yeah.
your second honeybee of the day?
Oh my God! You know what? How often do you get to see two honeybees in one day with performed by two
I don't
different
think that's ever happened.
bands?
That's the first time it's ever happened.
It's the first time it's
So
happened.
that's exciting.
Historic moment.
Yeah, that is history. That's history making stuff.
Shout
Hey,
out to friend of the pod Garrett, who really appreciated the two honeybees.
Yeah. Look, I'll say it every time. Honeybee has a killer closing solo, composed solo by Rick.
Yep.
It's I'll never be super bummed to see Honeybee unless they encore it. And then we got the Angborg.
Big Clav energy. I was
Yeah.
excited about this, also so I could rub in Neal's face that he should have stayed for the Sunday night show. But
Yeah.
he'll get
Got
his
a
encore
Some of us have
Sunday.
jobs.
Some of
yeah,
us
that is the
have a family and job, but
that's the other original that I haven't seen. That's the one Goose song I've yet to see
I've seen it
that
3
I
times
need
now.
to see, and I missed it. I missed it by night, but
I'll trade you an Angborg for a Lead the Way.
sure, you got it. But no, Engborg is killer. It always hits. I think it's one of those songs. I don't think there's really like a jam component to it. So like when we're talking about Engborg, we're not saying like that Engborg jam killed, but Engborg does kill. It's awesome.
It's Angborg. It's
and
awesome. Yeah.
yeah, awesome song.
Yeah, such a groove. So good. It burns within. I'm always happy to see this come out. I don't think it gets played enough. I don't know that to be honest, I think I've only re-listened to this once. It's I don't know that it reaches the Terminal 5 version. I think that's such a killer version, and I always kind of go back to that because I feel like after that version, it was so strong. I really felt like we were going to see this song a lot more, and we just haven't. So nice to see it come out this week, and yeah, fingers crossed it doesn't take another 75 shows or whatever it was.
Yeah, having been in attendance at Terminal 5, I'll say that this version is far better than the version that Ryan saw when he was there.
All right. You know what? Rub it in. I'm happy to get in It Burns Within.
T5
Let's
was
talk
dope.
about this rum. This rum is sick. This is an awesome rum.
I mean, some people are saying that, and
You don't agree.
Look, I think it's good. I think it kind of settles into a nice, like a nice synth groove, maybe, or
Yep. Well,
some people
Kylie-esque.
some people were throwing Kylie's name out there.
How do you
which
feel
I don't
about
know. Does
that?
that help? I mean, is that even a good thing? I don't know. But it's it's a cool little groove, but I don't know. There's not enough happening there. People, I think, everybody wants to talk about the goat everything, but no, this doesn't touch Aspen.
Yeah, man, that's what I was saying. I mean, I don't know. It's good. It's really good, and this is yet another example of Peter doing amazing things on the synth in this run. he as a musician has improved so much at that one
Yeah.
instrument.
He's been
And
shedding on the Prophet the last couple of months. It's very evident.
yeah, I mean, it's great. And to use that one instrument to make this jam as cool as it is exciting. Because I think sometimes butter rum jams aren't the best, or I don't want to say they're not the best, but like they can be redundant, or like I've heard this all before.
Yeah,
This
this
was
was
different,
not.
and this was unique,
It was
and I think
unique.
that's why people are excited about this jam.
Hmm. I'm okay with if they're gonna play rum, if they're gonna play it like this.
Yep,
Why not?
All right.
fair.
Final set of the
Set
run.
closer. Set closer, that rum.
Yeah.
And so set 2 opened up with the arrow. So by night 5, of course, we're expecting a lot of these songs. So arrow, no surprise, opening up set 2. And this is a good version. This is, I think we
Big
always,
exclamation mark energy here.
yeah, I think we question a lot of the arrow jams on the pod, and yeah, this I like this one. It's not. I guess it's similar to the tumble from night 2 for me a little bit. You know what I mean? It's a really nice high energy jam. It's probably a fun song to see live and dance to. But yeah, I'm not quite sure. Like a lot of arrows, I'm not quite sure how many times I'm gonna come back to this one. I'll come back to it a little bit though because it was good, above average
Yeah,
arrow.
I mean, I dig the last 5 minutes of this arrow a lot, which I think when we talk about arrows, like when we really love an arrow, I think that's what we say. Is like the last 5 minutes of this arrow is pretty dope, and this one is really good. I mean, it does go to some unique spaces, so this one is worth revisiting. But it is what it is. It's a pretty good arrow.
Yeah.
Super good arrow.
It's solid. It's good.
All right. All right. So a Western Sun. Got the straightforward Sans Jam Western Sun. And then we got the Into the Mist that I was really looking forward to. And this is a really good version. And in fact, the jam's a little bit unique. And
Unfinished.
yeah, and I was just getting ready to, I was really digging the jam, and I was just thinking to myself, oh man, my first thought was, this is a really nice groove. This is a really strong mist. And then right before I could even get the words out or the words typed of,
This
commenting on
sounds
my
like
hopes
wet lights.
that it gets finished, um, they just left it for White Lights.
But what a white lights this was.
Yeah,
Oh my
but just one
god.
second though. I I think an unfinished mist is just always a bit of a bummer.
Yeah.
It's the ending of the climax and the ending of that song is just so good, and I just can it they unfinish it so much, and it just kills me every time. But anyway, yeah, White
Now,
Lights is good.
to me, there's a very big difference between letting the mist just kind of peter out, um, and not finishing it versus executing a clean segue into white lights like they did, and then just absolutely blowing up white lights like they did. Like this white lights doesn't go outside the song. It doesn't jam for a super long time. Rick just takes it and just explodes. If you watch the video of this white lights, like on the webcast, Peter's just dancing as he's playing piano, just going crazy. The energy in the room during the peak of this jam was off the charts. It was amazing. Like it was so good. And so I feel like this, as far as unfinished mists go, this is not so bad because of that.
Well, yeah, yeah. I mean, I'm not gonna argue. And so then we got the audibled LMAG here. We were if they went by the book, we would have gotten Empress to close the set, and then a slow ready encore,
And there would have been a
which
labyrinth in there too.
which would have given me the perfect Golden Goose score, by the way. Um, so yeah, we got the LMAG though, which they've been bringing it out. LMAG's not a rarity anymore. they're not afraid to get this into rotation. So, but as far as Elmegs go, I mean, it was a pretty straight up version. Had a nice jam to it. Yeah, I mean, I think it's a nice way for them to close out a big this is a big run for them. I mean, no doubt about it. So, yeah, was Labyrinth on the set for this night? Yeah, Labyrinth was on the set
Yeah,
for this
Yeah, it
night
was on the
too.
set list.
That would have been the questionable. Yeah, they made the right move. Steering away from
Well,
that.
we know how that goes when, I mean, at least when I tell them that they made the right move by skipping a song. So,
Well, I'm on record. Well, I'm not going to say it. Labyrinth is Goose's petrichor, but I'm going to say it. I am going to say it, but it's what it is. That's a weird song to plug into a second set.
especially second set of
hard-
night 5 of the cap run.
Yeah.
and like I feel like those guys were pretty burnt. Like at the end of this, and Elmeg was the right choice. It hit, and everybody loves that song. Everybody wants to hear that song or wants to have heard an Elmeg. So good on them for like putting it out there and doing it.
Yeah. And then the encore we were expecting at this point then in Empress, which I mean that's
all
a really
gravy.
nice way. In fact, when we saw the written set list, I was thinking to myself, probably close with Slow Ready and Encore Empress, because Empress will be a better way, I think, to close out the run, with a bit more energy, and it's more triumphant, just on its own, just the song itself. So big time way to close it out. And like you're saying, just about the encores, I mean, just another big hitter to send everybody home with. So this is it. It's a good
So
show.
Honeybee
This is a
Encore.
good show.
It was an excellent show. I had an excellent time. It was great. And that brings us to the close of the cap run.
Yeah.
That's 5 shows. And we covered it in only 2.5 hours.
Yeah.
That's
We
fair.
we ran right through it.
You think with like a third of the number of shows that we normally do and 2 less people that we would cover it faster. But no.
Well, night
Well,
one
I mean,
deserved
honestly,
a deep
like kidding
dive,
aside,
so.
kidding aside, I think it's a testament to like how good the quality of these shows was.
Yeah.
I mean, they played a lot of really good music. They played a lot of very good songs. They dug deep in their catalog and played songs that they don't normally play. And there was a lot to talk about. And especially early on in this run, the improv was extraordinary. So, I mean, it's worth it. It's worth it to examine these songs and talk about it the way that we have.
There we go. All right, shall we mail sack?
Let us mail sack. Now is the time.
Let's get into the sack. Shout out to Kev.
I'm not ready for it.
He's
by
not
the way,
here tonight. Well, let's shout out to Kev, who's not here for the mail sack tonight. The mail sack is always, it's in honor of Kev.
Yes.
But pull up Twitter.
Well, so I can start with the Mastodon.
Yeah.
Version.
Mastodon mail sack.
Yeah, that's kind of where, I mean, that's
sack.
Yeah, so that's my home now, and so I threw something out there. I didn't get a lot of responses, so Mastodon is still a little bit,
BGM is still happening.
It's forming. Yeah, we're forming a nice community here. Hey, listen, to anybody listening, if you're bothered by anything on Twitter, hey, there's other options out there, so come check out Mastodon. We're having some good conversations, trying to get involved in some dialogue and some healthy, friendly, positive discussions about. So our boy Cliff, and I think Cliff was our second place.
Yeah.
Right. And he won the bracket last year, right?
Yeah.
And then he's second place this year. Boy, I mean, Cliff crushes the bracket. I wonder how he does in fantasy. He crushes the bracket. No doubt about it. first place first year, second place second year. I don't know. I got him coming in third next year though. Um, so he's talking a little bit about he asked a couple questions. So he asked a little bit about what we're thinking about Twitter and Mastodon, but I mean, we kind of already talked about that. I mean, I think it's the place to be at this point. So everybody's got to make their own decisions on that kind of thing. But then he has another question. He says, with respect to Raleigh Matavan beating out San Fran Wisteria for Jam of the Year, he's wondering, is it the pod or the voters that were wrong? And
Ooh,
I mean, look, here's the
it's
thing.
the voters.
Nobody's wrong when it comes to jams of this quality. I mean, two amazing jams. So, I mean, on one hand, nobody can be wrong about this stuff. But on the other hand, yes, the voters were wrong.
Yeah. Okay, good. As long as we're in agreement about that. My mail sack here, moving over to Twitter, the old homestead. We've got from DJ Billy Breathes at Willie Warren 23. Canadians spell favorite wrong. No, we do not. It was spelled with a U before you took out the U arbitrarily. Thank you very much for that. In a much more real sense, we do have a mail sack contribution, not on social media because this person is not on social media, but from good friend of the pod, Brian Brinkman. He wants to know how this run, the cap run, compares to the peaks of late 2021 to early 2022. I would like to say, I feel like that the improv at its peak does. I feel like there's potential for the rest of spring tour to stack up to that kind of peak period. But I don't know if the run as a whole matches March 2022. What do you guys think about that?
Yeah, I mean, well, first of all, I think it needs to be more specific. But yeah, I mean, there are some pretty legendary runs out there. I don't know if this stacks up against it yet. I think time will tell, though. Like, I'm not going to sit here and say like this 5-night run doesn't stack up against those runs without like having a minute to let these like sink in. But yeah, I don't know. Time will tell.
Yeah, and I mean, look, the thing is, yeah, I mean, on one hand, I'd say no, I don't think this run as a whole, stacks up. But also, when we talk about things like, winter, 2022, I mean, it wasn't really the case that show after show after show were just bangers. You know, there were pockets of shows, but there were other shows mixed in there that were, you know, they were good, but maybe not phenomenal. Like when you talk about a lot of the jams that came out of like Portland, and Bozeman. Bozeman was really the only full show that kind of stacked up at the end of the year in terms of
On that first
shows
leg, at
of the
least.
year. Yeah. So if we're talking, well, I think Bozeman was a top 10 show of the year.
So was DC. So was Nashville too. So was
Yeah,
Philly,
yeah, but that's quite a bit later though. You know what I
Cleveland.
mean?
Right, but that's the second leg of the same tour. But that's
Yeah. So we're talking about 5 shows here. So anyway, yeah, I mean, I'm not sure. I'm not sure really any of those in terms of runs of shows were really phenomenal until you get into March. That's when I think you had full kind of runs of shows that were pretty special. But I'm really happy with the improv that came out of this run. Most of it night one, but some really good stuff to kind of kick the year off with.
Yeah. So like
Neal,
digging
your
in.
sack.
Yeah. So DJ Billy Breeze asks, Canadians spell favorite wrong? True.
Okay, all right.
I'm gonna say true on that one.
Spoken like an American.
Well, I had to do that, right? So,
Yes.
then like another question, like how are we feeling about Rick's new tone? Like, has it grown on me yet? Yes, and it didn't grow on me. I've liked it since the beginning, and I think it's evolving, and I think it's like a pretty exciting thing. And the more he kind of digs into exploring the sound that he wants to make, I think the more excited I am. So I don't know. I mean, this one, like, I'm hesitant to do, but um, maybe let's just do it, like, just for fun. What's everyone's top three so far? And that is Tyler Hensley, who has asked that one. What is your top three jam of the year
Well,
so far? And I'll be
you're
gutsy,
answering
and
the
I'll
question. You go first.
yeah, I will go first. So I'm going to say Drive is my number
Yep.
one. And I think this might be controversial, but my number two is Earthling or Alien. And my number three is All I Need. And they're all in that same show, the first night of the run.
I'm going to go Drive, All I Need, In Your Eyes.
This guy just
I thought you were going to say
he
Butter
can't-
Rum. I was ready for it.
No, he can't bring himself to put Earthling up that high. Neal, I have the same top three as you. I had Madhavan, number two for a little while. After some urging from you guys to
Till we
really,
ridiculed you.
you ridiculed me, you shamed me, kind of the same
The
way
peer
you
review
beat me off
process
of
is strong.
kind of the same way you beat me off of my DC Wisteria at number one last year. You really
Please
encouraged
don't
me.
ever say I beat you off again.
Oh God.
Oh man, we're like 3 hours in, and the first edit. Here we go.
Yeah, there are no edits that I'm gonna have to make before this. Oh Jesus! Thank
I was
you
waiting for it.
Thank you for pointing that out. I
So
didn't even
fucking-
realize that came out of my mouth. Oh shit! Oh boy!
All right, Ryan, bring us back.
Similar to how you got me down from my DC Wisteria as the jam of the year last year. You really encouraged me in a very friendly way, with lots of compassion and kindness to reevaluate my decision. And it's paid off. I have Madhavan at 4 now, but I also have Drive, Earthling, All I Need.
Well,
So-
Ryan, I'm glad we're in agreement there.
I know we're running long and we're going to wrap this up.
Yeah,
But we always have to do a quick Fancy Goose check-in.
of course.
So in order to keep this,
It's
in order
early
to keep
tour.
this-
Guess who's at the bottom?
yeah. In order to keep this really brief, I'm just going to do a quick recap of the top two spots so far this year. Chris Newcomb in first, and then Jive Goose in second.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
just
Oh man.
always remember hashtag fuck meal.
Well,
Get it trending.
I don't gloat.
Nobody
early
asked
on.
you. You're not in the top two. Okay. You know what? You're gonna make your late tour comeback as you always do, and no one cares. Thank you, everybody, for sitting through this really long episode. We hope you enjoyed our breakdown of the Cap Run. We are going to be back starting on Friday, March 24th, with our day after shows, recapping Boston. For this tour, we will be starting at 3:30 p.m. Eastern Time. That is 3:30, not 3 o'clock, 3:30 Eastern Time. More convenient for your workday. Or if it's not, it's half an hour later, and you'll tune in, we hope. Join us live, of course. We've got lots of exciting guests lined up. Maybe some relatives of a band member for the first couple of recaps. It's going to be very exciting. This has been a fun episode.
Yeah.
Loved
if you're
it.
still listening, I'm sorry.
Yeah, you know what? We're going to be back in early April to recap the first leg of Spring Tour proper. It's going to be a lot of fun. We will hopefully have Dee and Kev back. It's going to be a great tour. I'm excited for a lot of Goose shows, seeing how they continue to evolve here. It's going to be good. You guys got anything else?
Peace.
Mushrooms.
Thank you, everybody, for listening, and we'll see you next time.